Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Simon Marks with the Week in Review. And the week ended with tensions rising dramatically over Ukraine. President Biden saying he now believes Vladimir Putin has decided to invade.
You are convinced that President Putin is going to invade Ukraine. Is that what you just said a few moments ago?
Yes, I did. Yes.
Diplomacy off the table then?
No. Until he does, diplomacy is always a possibility.
He was speaking after crisis talks with European leaders. The entire week was consumed by diplomatic efforts to defuse the crisis after the US said the Russians were lying when they claimed to be withdrawing troops from the Ukrainian border. Pentagon spokesman John Kirby on Monday.
I would just say this. Should he choose to invade again, he is doing all the things you would expect him to do to make sure he's ready for that option.
And Secretary of State Antony Blinken at the UN Security Council on Thursday.
The information I presented here is validated by what we've seen unfolding in plain sight before our eyes for months.
He's agreed to meet the Russian foreign minister next week in Europe, but only if no invasion of Ukraine occurs before then. Northern Europe got hit by record-breaking storms at the end of the week. Winds of up to 150 kilometres per hour were recorded in some parts of Germany. FSN's Trent Murray hunkered down in FSN's Berlin bureau.
Train operator Deutsche Bahn has cancelled many long-distance services, while fallen trees have caused travel disruption on the roads. In Bavaria, around 10,000 homes have been left without power because of downed power lines, while at Berlin International Airport, passengers faced delays as authorities said it was unsafe to board aircraft due to the winds.
And in Britain, part of the roof of the Millennium Dome in London was ripped off by Storm Eunice. Donald Trump had a difficult week. His accounting firm dropped him as a client, telling New York investigators the Trump Organization's financial filings for the last 10 years could no longer be viewed as reliable. On Friday, the National Archives said it had found classified material in boxes of presidential papers that made their way to the former president's Mar-a-Lago estate, not the archives themselves. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau invoked the country's Emergencies Act for the first time, saying he needed its additional power to deal with protesting truckers besieging Ottawa. By Friday night, protest leaders had been arrested and the police were clearing the streets as a fevered debate about civil liberties raged in Canada. 9 families who lost 6 and 7-year-old children in the 2012 Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting in Connecticut won a $73 million payout from Remington. It becomes the first gun manufacturer ever held responsible for the murderous actions a shooter committed with one of their weapons. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN. Ongoing tensions between Russia and Ukraine will, of course, dominate sentiment on Wall Street throughout the upcoming trading week, and traders will also be waiting for some key inflation readings towards the back end of the week. With the preview from FSN's business desk in New York, Will Denzelo.
The first major piece of economic data due out this week is Tuesday's Consumer Confidence Index. It will provide traders with a sense of how the public feel about inflation, the pandemic, and the general state of the economy. Then on Friday, investors will get a chance to digest consumer spending figures for January. Spending ticked down 0.6% in December, and Wall Street analysts will be hoping for a better showing. Friday also sees the release of some key inflation figures that will be watched closely by the Federal Reserve and traders alike. This week also sees a revision for fourth quarter GDP.
The week saw a bombshell announcement of a settlement in a civil lawsuit between Prince Andrew and Virginia Giuffre. Reports in London suggested the Duke of York will pay his accuser £12 million in compensation. There is no admission of wrongdoing on the Prince's part. Royal commentator Peter Hunt.
People have spoken a lot about how he wanted his day in court, how Virginia Giuffre wanted her day in court, but actually her lawyer had a sort of very sophisticated interview a few weeks ago where he talked about it being resolved in a way that vindicates her, that's his client Giuffre, and vindicates the other victims. He'd said, I don't think she has a firm view as to what a resolution should be, and a purely financial settlement wasn't what they wanted, and they didn't want a tax on her morals and credibility. And I think we've seen here some shift by Andrew towards that.
In the coming week, once again, we will focus extensively on the crisis over Ukraine. FSN's team in Moscow, Kyiv, at NATO headquarters in Brussels, at the UN in New York, and all points in between will cover every twist and turn in the story here and for our broadcast clients around the world. And that is the Week in Review from Feature Story News. Simon Marks reporting.
For the past several years now, area woman Caitlin Mooney has been convinced that each and every one of her friends should be a professional comedian. Our reporters spoke to Caitlin this morning about her, quote, hilarious group of friends.
Karen is so funny. Like, I can't even explain it. She's always just saying whatever on her mind. She has this totally sassy attitude. You just can't help but laugh. My roommate Rashmi, she always has these hilarious stories that, they're just too much. I'm always telling her that she should just go up on stage and talk. Everyone would love it.
Mooney went on to say that her good friend Lauren is so funny she could, quote, definitely be on Saturday Night Live or The Office, a sentiment she echoed about a number of her other acquaintances, including her childhood friend Marcia, her college roommate Angela, her coworker Julie, and even her sister Jennifer.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
I mustache you a question.
Oh, you must.
For those of you who are watching the video stream over at video.freetalklive.com.
This just in.
Steve Classic, one of our co-hosts here at Free Talk Live, has brought in breaking news, an official photo of the prison guard who is watching over Jean-Luc. An official photo of the prison guard watching over Jean-Luc. If you've seen this person, please contact authorities immediately. He has a striking resemblance to Hillary Clinton.
What?
But with like a bit of a Edward James Olmos mustache, if you will.
Mustache?
Big glasses that kind of look like cop shades, but they're only tinted. They're not really mirrored. And, big smiling face. So... this is free. This is Free Talk Live. The telephone number here is 603-283-6160. The phone lines are open if you'd like to join us. In the studio tonight, it's
Steve Classic
and Nikki Sunshine.
And I am your host, the Lord Reverend Doctor, and no longer going to be Ambassador, Captain Kickass, Esquire, if you will.
No longer ambassador? What's up with that?
Well, I was never really an ambassador. I was just talking to some people about being an ambassador, and now the opportunity for ambassadorship has passed. And so
you don't need that.
Yeah, I got plenty.
You're plenty prestigious without the ambassador.
You're going to need a bigger business card.
Oh,
if
it's
you
not.
have that.
I know. It's not out of the question. It's still on the table as like
just in the back
potential
burner, right?
potential title on down the road to add to my incredibly long and arduous title
cool
list that I have. So thanks for being here, you guys. It's good to see you both. I've titled this show Epstein 2 Electric Boogaloo.
Why? Because you wanted to use the word Boogaloo?
Well, so if you're as old as I am, you'll know that there was a movie. It was sort of in the era of like when breakdancing first came out.
Yeah, it was Electric Boogaloo.
Electric Boogaloo. And they made a second one. And it was called Breakin' 2 Electric Boogaloo. So Breakin', Breakin' apostrophe.
Right.
Was the first movie. And then they made a second one called Breakin' 2 Electric Boogaloo. And then somehow fast forward to, the 2000s and the word Boogaloo has been like co-opted or something. And now it means...
the Boogaloo Boys.
Yeah, the Boog Boy, all that kind of stuff. Oh. So both in part to make fun of both of those things, but also because I thought it was appropriate, being we're talking about eerily similar events that happened to this guy, Jean-Luc Brunel, a one-time Miami modeling guru found dead in jail.
Wow. Modeling guru?
Yeah.
What is that?
So I have to back up because that's the second article. The first article is actually I got from Yahoo News. Yes, I know it's pronounced Yahoo, but I like to call them Yahoos. Epstein's alleged pimp, Jean-Luc Brunel, found hanged in cell. Now, that makes you think, you're like, wait, Epstein was his prostitute? And like, was Jean-Luc smacking Epstein up and all that kind of thing? Well, no.
Plot twist.
Right? Yeah. It means something different. It says Jean-Luc Brunel, the French modeling agent accused of procuring girls for Jeffrey Epstein, was found hanged in his Paris jail cell in a shocking replay of how Epstein himself died. Yes, I'm
shocked.
I'm so shocked. Aren't you shocked?
I'm speechless.
This is my surprised face.
That's why I saw that
is
come
gasted.
across my phone with that picture. Like, I think that was the same security guard that was in New York City.
That's hysterical.
The 76-year-old was found during a nighttime check by guards at La Santé early Saturday, officials told Le Monde.
Officials.
I'm probably mispronouncing all this French crap, too, so...
oui.
His attorneys told the paper that the apparent suicide was not driven by guilt, but by a deep sense of injustice. Epstein and Brunel accuser Virginia Roberts-Giuffre said it was unfortunate that the Frenchman would not face trial. Oh, so unfortunate.
So sad that he can't
How
rat all those
unfortunate.
people out that are molesting children. Very unfortunate.
I would have blamed climate change.
Right.
They don't even say the alleged. They just say the suicide of Jean-Luc Brunel, who abused me and countless girls and women, ends another chapter. I am disappointed that I was not able to face him in a final trial and hold him accountable for his actions, but gratified that I was able to face him in person in Paris to keep him in prison, she said. Brad Edwards, who has represented Roberts-Giuffre, said he believes the Frenchman took his life because he knew his fate was sealed. One of those phrases that doesn't get used often enough. Fate was sealed. Sealed your fate.
Airtight.
It's like, what are you doing? Are you in a Ziploc? Are you hermetically sealing yourself with one of those seal-a-meal contraptions?
So he hung himself, apparently.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, he hung himself with his bedsheet.
She continues to spout about all sorts of stuff. Virginia's testimony in France was a major factor in Jean-Luc being jailed. Her recent settlement with Prince Andrew solidified her as a highly credible person, so it cannot be a surprise that he took the same cowardly path as did his old pal to avoid true accountability. I feel bad for as many victims, but this does not have much impact at all on our investigation, which continues to strengthen. Brunel, who founded Karen Models, Karin, and MC2 Model Management, started blah, blah, blah. Anyway, it talks about this guy ad nauseum, and I don't want to give him any more press than he really deserves. But, so, yeah, that was weird. I read this last night, and I was like, interesting. They probably got footage, though, right? It was my first thought. I'm like, because, he's in jail, and he's been there for some time. He's part of the Epstein case. You would think anybody involved in this case at this point would be under 24-hour camera surveillance.
Well, how would they murder him if he was under surveillance?
But no, they weren't. Nope, not at all. In fact, Jeffrey Epstein associate Jean-Luc Brunel, one-time Miami modeling guru, found dead in jail. Jeffrey Epstein's former business partner and alleged accomplice in trafficking and sexually abusing girls, Jean-Luc Brunel, was found dead Saturday in his French jail cell, according to French authorities. Brunel's death eerily echoes Epstein's death by hanging in a New York prison cell in August 2019 that was ruled a suicide. Brunel had been arrested in December 2020 and was under investigation on rape and sex trafficking charges. It almost seems like the entire ring of people who are doing this, that their conscience is getting the better of them now that they're being held accountable for their actions.
Give me a break. Oh, my God. Like, seriously?
Why even go to jail to hang yourself? Just do it at home before you even get in trouble.
That was said by Spencer Couvin, who's an attorney that has represented several of Epstein's victims. Of course, the alternative conspiracy theory is that it's like someone is trying to clean up shop.
What? No way. That must be a conspiracy theory.
That's, quote, the alternative conspiracy theory.
Makes no sense.
Epstein had provided Brunel a $1 million line of credit to start the Miami Beach modeling agency, MC2, and Brunel, a legendary modeling scout who had worked for decades in New York and Paris, has long been rumored to have aided and participated in Epstein's abuse of girls. Prior to MC2, Brunel had run the New York office of the famed modeling agency for much of the 1990s, but Maritza Vasquez, Brunel's former bookkeeper in Miami Beach, told the Miami Herald in 2019 that the business MC2, the modeling business, wasn't really a functioning modeling agency, but was more of a vehicle for steering young women recruited into the agency to parties at Epstein's mansion in Palm Beach and New York, and wasn't a successful business. the bookkeeper saying this modeling agency, not a successful business.
Yeah.
The front, in other words.
I think the bookkeeper is probably going to jail and will end up hung.
The only reason Mr. Epstein was involved was because of the girls, I think, because it was not a profitable business, Vasquez told the Herald. Brunel's death comes days after Prince Andrew settled a lawsuit with Epstein accuser Virginia Giuffre, who said Prince Andrew had sexually abused her when she was underage at several homes owned by Epstein. Shocking coincidence? Alternative conspiracy theory?
Where's my
You
tinfoil
be the
hat?
judge. Did Jean-Luc really kill himself? Why were the cameras not working? 603-283-6160. More Free Talk Live is next.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
When Monster Hunter International discovers one of Isaac Newton's wardstones being auctioned off, they decide to steal it and use it to destroy the Chaos God once and for all. But a mysterious thief upends their plan, and it soon becomes a race against time as something much older and infinitely more evil awakens in the jungles of South America. Monster Hunter Bloodlines by New York Times bestselling author Larry Correia and Baen Books. Visit monsterhunternation.com for more.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in Liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com. Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
Yes, it is Free Talk Live. Captain's log, stardate 02202022. Yes, that was a superfluous zero in front of that. But
wow.
I just wanted to point out that it was 2/20/2022.
Yeah.
Which sounds like a lot to say. 02202022. It's a lot of twos and zeros.
On Tuesday, it's going to be 2.
Will they have
that's National Margarita Day?
Will they have 2 for 2 on Tuesdays, on Taco Tuesday?
Taco Tuesday, 2 margaritas? Man. Yeah.
Will you two be there?
I'll be somewhere. It's 5 o'clock all day on Tuesday.
Right?
Will you order 2?
Absolutely. I always order 2.
All right. That's good. We've been talking about this guy.
We've been talking about chickpeas.
Well, yeah, during the break, we were somehow talking about chickpeas and pea soup and all sorts of fun stuff. I don't want to mention this because, well,
now you have to.
I don't know if we'll get to it. It's because we were talking about chickpeas. And all right, let's just do it. We were talking about this guy Jean-Luc Benson, who this is in France or something, and he apparently was supplying Epstein with underage females for their rape island or whatever, and
so wrong.
I'm not pulling any punches here. It's Free Talk Live, and he somehow hung himself.
Seriously?
Allegedly hung himself
with the fitted sheets
in his cell, and of course cameras were not rolling.
That guilty conscience. I mean, he was just so guilty about the things that he did.
Yeah. That
20 years later, he hung himself.
So if you want to comment on any of that, 603-283-6160. Since we brought up the chickpeas, and if you're watching us at video.freetalklive.com, Steve Classic here is putting up a picture of the guard who is allegedly manning the post, if you will. Or
she shut the cameras off.
Yeah. But we talked a little bit about starchy vegetables, chickpeas, and that kind of thing. And this from Euronews.green that Nikki brought in.
I was hoping this is where you were going.
Plant-based passion, why vegans have better sex. And I'm just looking at this photo that they have accompanying this article, and it's like a banana with like a half unwrapped condom. It's red, by the way, on the banana itself. Cucumber. A half shucked ear of corn, a cucumber. I mean, not very phallic symbols at all, really. A half sliced, what is it? A pear and a tangerine and
peach
that have phallic sort of symbolism associated with them.
They're all fruits. They're not. Well, I guess there's a couple vegetables.
Yeah. We all know eating more plants is good for us and the planet, but some say the benefits of a vegan diet extend into our love lives too. Who doesn't want better circulation and stamina for a more enjoyable evening for all involved? A survey in 2020 discovered that 84% of vegetarians reported satisfaction with their sex lives compared to only 59% of meat eaters. But crucially, 95% of vegan participants said they were satisfied. So why do vegans purport to have better sex? Could it be the shape of the vegetables, perhaps?
It could be that they answer the survey more than people who eat meat. I don't know.
Could be. Nikki?
I vote. I mean, you can change it to 96% because I vote, and I happen to
You're
be
1% of the surveyed voters? Interesting.
Now I am.
You've given yourself much clout. Well done. Sort of like the politicians when they give themselves power they didn't have before. It just materializes out of nowhere. Red meat can make for a heavy meal, often leaving you feeling lethargic and sleepy afterwards. Isn't lethargic and sleepy synonyms? Are they kind of the same? Okay.
For effect. Lethargic and sleepy.
I thought maybe those were the two of the renamed dwarves. Grumpy's no longer grumpy. He's just lethargic.
Peter Dinklage would not like that terminology you're using there.
Yeah, but his last name is Dinklage.
All right. The captain continues.
Feeling lethargic and sleepy afterwards, which is not the sexiest mood to be in, whereas vegetables don't leave you bloated or tired in the same way. In fact, research suggests there is a link between B vitamins found in spinach, Brussels sprouts, and oranges and serotonin production. This is one of the chemicals in your brain that makes you happy.
Oh, that must be why I'm so happy, because I ate like 4 oranges today.
I thought serotonin was running for something, governor or mayor or something somewhere. Serotonin?
Sarah Palin.
Oh, no.
Sarah Palin.
No, I'm thinking of the, what is she? She's like they used to do like TV all the time, the like fitness instructors. You just turn on the channel.
Jane Fonda?
That kind of a thing, yeah. You know,
I'm getting warmer.
I know who you're talking about. She's like a dancer, right?
Yeah, a fitness instructor person with her own DVD series, or Serotonin. All right, the joke.
I can just hear the people listening. Why, it's this. Why don't you know it?
So we're talking about this article about vegetables and your sex life. Does being a vegan make you have a better sex life? And this article seems to lean that way. Red meat, we already talked about that. It says, but hang on, we all know the saying about beans, and it's true. Beans can cause flatulence. Yes, they can. Not ideal for a romantic evening. Although, if you're into the Dutch oven,
oh man,
certainly
Do we have a
one of the
commercial break
many tools you have in your kitchen at your disposal for cooking the beans. What's the best dish to eat before you jump into bed?
Ooh, I know. Pick me.
Okay, Nikki.
Pineapples.
I think everybody knows about the pineapple thing, right? No? Steve?
Yes, I do.
Okay, all right.
Well, I know of it, but I have not participated in the actual taste test.
Just keep one of those, it's like a half-gallon thing of pineapple juice in the can.
Yeah.
Just keep one of those around. Just in case.
Just in case.
You need to do that for like a couple days.
It's the same thing for the guys that are getting older and got to use the pills, right? You know what I mean?
Pineapple works for that?
Well, if you take the pineapple juice at the same time you take the pill, it all just sort of works itself out.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Right? Because you got to take the pill usually a little bit before, allegedly, so I've been told.
I don't have that problem, so.
You never run out of pineapple juice?
No, never. I always have plenty of pineapple
I'm stocked
juice.
up. I'm pineapple apocalypse ready. All right. But hang on, we all know. We said that.
That's a
fruit,
though. We're talking about vegetables.
All right, you said. What was your vote for best dish to eat? Pineapple. Okay.
Pineapple, yes.
Did you? What do you think?
I'm going with the beans.
All right.
It depends.
I'm going with cheese.
That's not a vegetable.
Oh, damn it.
Or you could eat the fake cheese. It's like the tofu turkey.
I make a great cheese out of potatoes and carrots.
The question just says, what's the best dish to eat before you jump into bed? So I'm just going with string cheese.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. I accept. Right. That's acceptable.
I say that just because it's a bit of a binder, rather than the opposite, eating the beans, right? Which could be a smelly situation.
We'll have that answer and more right after this break.
Wow, it's like you knew what I was going to say, except we don't say right after this break. We say coming up on Free Talk Live, we'll answer that very question from this article and talk more about why being vegan may help you have a better sex life. This is Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160.
And now, time for something totally different. Intercoin is a project that's working to make crypto mainstream. We use the power of smart contracts to help any community in the world launch their own cryptocurrency. Ever wanted to release your own coin or build your own app to grow your business? Intercoin's team builds apps that have reached 9 million people around the world. And now it's time to help make a real social impact in your local community. Go to intercoin.org and join the movement. That's intercoin.org.
You know, when we first started Intercoin about 3 years ago, we had a big vision to help every community in the world have access to the same tools that large states and federations do, to hold local elections on the blockchain, to have their own local currency, shop local, hire local, and help fight the forces of globalization that have decimated some of these communities.
Go to intercoin.org and join the movement.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Simon Marks with the Week in Review. And the week ended with tensions rising dramatically over Ukraine. President Biden saying he now believes Vladimir Putin has decided to invade.
We're convinced that President Putin is going to invade Ukraine. Is that what you just said a few moments ago?
Yes, I did. Yes.
Diplomacy off the table then?
No. Until he does, diplomacy is always a possibility.
He was speaking after crisis talks with European leaders. The entire week was consumed by diplomatic efforts to defuse the crisis after the US said the Russians were lying when they claimed to be withdrawing troops from the Ukrainian border. Pentagon spokesman John Kirby on Monday.
I would just say this. Should he choose to invade again, he is doing all the things you would expect him to do to make sure he's ready for that option.
And Secretary of State Antony Blinken at the UN Security Council on Thursday.
The information I presented here is validated by what we've seen unfolding in plain sight before our eyes for months.
He's agreed to meet the Russian foreign minister next week in Europe, but only if no invasion of Ukraine occurs before then. Northern Europe got hit by record-breaking storms at the end of the week. Winds of up to 150 kilometres per hour were recorded in some parts of Germany. FSN's Trent Murray hunkered down in FSN's Berlin bureau.
Train operator Deutsche Bahn has cancelled many long-distance services, while fallen trees have caused travel disruption on the roads. In Bavaria, around 10,000 homes have been left without power because of downed power lines, while at Berlin International Airport, passengers faced delays as authorities said it was unsafe to board aircraft due to the winds.
And in Britain, part of the roof of the Millennium Dome in London was ripped off by Storm Eunice. Donald Trump had a difficult week. His accounting firm dropped him as a client, telling New York investigators the Trump Organization's financial filings for the last 10 years could no longer be viewed as reliable. On Friday, the National Archives said it had found classified material in boxes of presidential papers that made their way to the former president's Mar-a-Lago estate, not the archives themselves. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau invoked the country's Emergencies Act for the first time, saying he needed its additional power to deal with protesting truckers besieging Ottawa. By Friday night, protest leaders had been arrested and the police were clearing the streets as a fevered debate about civil liberties raged in Canada. 9 families who lost 6 and 7-year-old children in the 2012 Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting in Connecticut won a $73 million payout from Remington. It becomes the first gun manufacturer ever held responsible for the murderous actions a shooter committed with one of their weapons. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
You can help spread the ideas of liberty with our Patreon for just $5 per month at amps.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live is hitting your eardrums right about now.
Woo!
That's right. We're here, and this is where we are. Because if we weren't here, we'd be somewhere else.
It doesn't matter where here is as long as we're here.
The telephone number. We are a live call-in radio talk program where you can talk about whatever's on your mind. Yeah, we're talking about stuff. You can talk about that too. But if there's something on your mind that you want to broadcast over nationally syndicated radio that's also streamed on the internet and some satellite stations, why? Give us a call, 603-283-6160. In the studio, it's myself, the captain.
Steve Classic.
And Nikki.
Just Nikki now. You've dropped the...
Nikki Sunshine.
You've dropped the planetary reference. Planetary, the solar system.
It's a star.
The star reference,
yeah.
Yes.
You know, because I'm a star.
Oh, I didn't put that together. That makes sense now.
It's all coming together.
I thought it was just because you're like cheery all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I have to tell you that Bitcoin.com is the best source for learning about cryptocurrency. You can go there now and click on Get Started at the top of the page. Once you do that, you'll find all sorts of valuable information neatly organized to suit your needs. There's no longer any excuse to ignore this important world-changing information. If you're already a knowledgeable crypto user, you can check out news.bitcoin.com and get the latest headlines of all the news that's relevant to you. Bitcoin.com is your source for everything crypto, like getting a wallet, mining, trading, and all the latest cryptocurrency news on a very slick and easy-to-use website. Please visit Bitcoin.com. All right, so we started talking about this Jean-Luc Bertrand, who was associated with Mr. Epstein, who, no, he didn't have his bank accounts cut off by governments. No, he was in jail and allegedly hung himself in the key, if you will, in the key of Epstein, right, where no cameras were on at the time.
He must have gotten inspiration from him, you know?
It's like, I'm going to go out the way that guy did.
Yeah.
Copycat suicide. I mean, this does happen, right? Like, one guy jumps off the bridge, right, and kills himself, and then it's in the news, and then some other guy goes, I'm depressed, and I want to jump off the bridge, too.
Yeah.
Before you know it, there's a line.
Yeah,
Before you know it, there's a line at the bridge, and some guy's selling tickets now, so it's going to cost you money if you want to jump off the bridge and kill yourself.
And if you want to cut in line, it's going to cost you more.
Yeah. If only there were a real and true free market.
Tell your friends.
We would have these things. So we moved on from that, and we were talking about this article from Euronews.green that Nikki brought in, talking about a vegan diet may be the reason you're having better sex. And so we've talked a bit about, what types of foods, the vitamins, and that kind of a thing. And beans, of course.
Yeah.
But the question was, what is the best dish to eat before you jump into bed? And I said cheese. You said
beans.
And you said
pineapple.
This says the Mediterranean diet has long been known to support a healthy heart, but research has also shown these benefits may extend to sexual health, reducing the risk of erectile dysfunction and preserving sexual function, explains London-based nutritionist Lily Sauter. So, by eating less meat, moderate fish and dairy, small amounts of red wine, and having an emphasis on plant-based foods, things could certainly be looking up in the bedroom. Yeah, there needed to be a timpani right there. Timpani. She adds that if you're worried about baked beans on toast, because nothing's sexier than baked beans on toast, let me tell you.
I've never heard of baked beans on toast.
Really?
It must be a
it's
British
good one.
thing. Yeah?
Must be a vegan thing.
Must buy stock in Heinz baked beans.
She adds, if you're worried about baked beans on toast, go for green beans, rice, or quinoa. Is that how you say that?
Yeah.
Or quinoa.
QAnon.
QAnon instead, which are less likely to make you feel gassy during those intimate moments. That just sounds
like nothing funnier than that.
Sounds like a horrible infomercial. Are you suffering? Are you gassy during those intimate moments?
Did you buy beans during the pandemic of 2020?
Mom,
you may be entitled to.
Mom, do you ever get that not so fresh feeling?
Eat some pineapple.
What's more, red and processed meat appear to have the greatest effect on the environment out of any type of food. Shifting our diets to encompass more plant-based protein may even help to cultivate a more environmentally sustainable diet. So you can F for the sustainable, future.
I'm calling that article out as propaganda.
Vegan propaganda?
Yeah. No, just, the planet, climate change, eat less meat.
That would be veganda. Vegan propaganda.
So I learned this the other day. I was discussing with somebody about how Bill Gates recently bought a lot of farmland.
Yep.
So, and it's like, okay, what is some tech guy going to do with farmland? Like, that's a little suspicious. And then my friend was telling me that he's pushing the vegan agenda. Apparently, he's a vegetarian or whatever, and he wants people to eat no to very little meat. And apparently, this is part of, like, the new world order thing.
Right.
Which was news to me. I didn't.
Oh, no, that's 100% accurate. Because your brain is made of 95% fat. So if you eat a vegan diet, your brain is starved for fat, which makes you not as smart.
I don't think I'd go that far. I mean, there are other sources of protein and
But I don't
oil.
think Bill Gates eats a lot of vegetables. He's a smart guy, I think.
Do you know the hardest thing about eating a vegetable? It's the wheelchair. right.
Cue the music. Where's the break? Come on.
Off-color jokes here on Free Talk Live.
I was thinking earlier about how vegetables don't have a very good sex life.
If only they had a vegan diet, Nikki. If only they had a vegan diet, they could be more. They could enjoy their sex life more. They could be more fruitful. No, they could be more vegetable-full. Vegetable-full? Is that a word?
Less
Wow,
vegetable.
is there someone on the phone? Anyone on the phones? Let's go to the phones. Anyone, please call in.
Do vegans agree with this assessment? We spoke to 3 people anonymously who identify as vegan to get the lowdown on whether their love lives have improved since going plant-based. One started off by saying plant-based food is generally easier to process, which makes vigorous sex after dinner date more pleasant, he added. That there haven't been too many changes in his sex life, but that the only noticeable difference is probably right after a meal. Another vegan living in the north of England went into some more detail for us. I've been a vegan on and off for about 10 years, and it's quite obvious how much having a vegan diet has improved my sexual performance. I have stronger erections, more stamina, quicker refractory periods, and could perform 3 to 4 times within a night or session,
or a fortnight.
He tells us. Because sometimes 3 to 4 times takes more than just night. It becomes daytime
fortnight,
at that point.
It sounds Olympian there. Jeez.
That should be a band name, Vigorous Erections. That is a rock and roll band name if I have ever heard one. Particularly if it was like something out of like the hard rock of the 70s and 80s and that kind of thing, or better yet, it's a bunch of aging rockers, right, who are endorsed by the little blue pill,
and now they're back.
Like I'm thinking Aerosmith,
right. We're on a vegan diet. We don't need that blue pill.
We have got to start thinking about the type of world we're going to leave behind for Keith Richards. It is far beyond time for us to consider these things.
Speaking of aging rock stars.
He's going to outlive us all.
Yeah.
Nikki, do you have any comments on this?
I mean, I've been a vegetarian since I was 8 years old, so I don't think I can really produce a proper assessment from, like, eating meat to, since I wasn't sexually active back then.
Right, okay. But, I got you. So, basically the entire time you've been a vegan.
Yeah, pretty much.
So
I was eating dairy at some point.
Okay. But not now.
Not now, no.
So what prompted you to bring this in?
I just thought it was funny. I liked the condom banana, honestly. I saw that and I was like, yeah, we got to talk about this.
I enjoy the sibilance of some of these multisyllabic words contained within the article.
Don't eat corn the long way.
Corn. Oh, boy. 603-283-6160. Coming up, we'll talk about a convoy in the United States of America?
Come on, man.
More Free Talk Live is on the way.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
You can't win if you don't enter, and you actually can improve your chances of winning a prize drawing if you wrinkle up your entry blank. I'm Holland Cook from survivalspeech.com, and I speak from experience. Why this works: if they'll be spinning the drum before drawing, your entry blank will move around more than, and not adhere to, other perfectly flat entry blanks. And if they don't spin the drum and merely reach into a box full of other perfectly flat entry blanks, many of which are sticking together, yours will feel different to the person reaching in. When you win, act surprised. And if you're looking for work, this is a metaphor. For more tips on sticking out in a world where just too much blends into the blah, 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 hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
My name is Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, which Congressman Ron Paul awarded for having an outstanding freedom website. Write us at fff@fff.org, and we'll send you a free 3-month subscription to our monthly journal of libertarian essays and our booklet, Economic Liberty in the Constitution, which George Mason University economics professor Walter Williams praised in a recent column. That's fff@fff.org.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
That's right. I have to push buttons to start the microphones.
Beep, boop, 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 boop.
Thank you. That's the sound these buttons make too.
The exact sound those buttons make.
They're noisy.
Yeah. 603-283-6160 is the phone number here in the studio if you would like to join us on this edition of Free Talk Live. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the captain,
Steve Classic,
and Nikki.
We're going to move on from the veganism and sex life article, much to Nikki's chagrin.
She's already looking up another one.
I know.
I've already found like 4 more, but
I know. You
sure, I guess we can talk about other things.
I did tease a little bit that we would talk about thepeoplesconvoy.org. Now, this was apparently talked about a bit on Friday, according to my producers, but they have made an official press release as of today. So I wanted to take a minute because since the Ottawa thing had kicked off, the truckers for lifting the mandates and Canada doing the Reich thing and
don't honk on me.
Yeah. And it's a horrible, terrible situation. Many folks have been wondering, will there be something similar? And there have been rumors about, yes, there will be. But up until, well, apparently Friday, at least nobody here at Free Talk Live could substantiate that. We even had callers call in who are truckers themselves or involved in the trucking industry. It was like, if something like that were going on, I'd have heard about it. Now, sometimes stuff gets biased, but this was just released today, and it is from thepeoplesconvoy.org. American truckers are launching the People's Convoy, a peaceful and unified transcontinental movement on February 23rd from Adelanto Stadium in Southern California. American truckers are launching the People's Convoy on Wednesday the 23rd from the Adelanto blah, blah, blah. Starting at 10 a.m., hundreds of truckers will hear words of encouragement and blessing from a group of speakers, including FLCCC President Dr. Pierre Corey and Godspeak Church pastor Rob McCoy. The truckers and blue-collar workers of the United States will be joined by freedom-loving supporters from all walks of life. Frontline doctors, lawyers, first responders, former military servicemen and women, students, retirees, mothers, fathers, and children on this peaceful and law-abiding transcontinental journey toward the East Coast. The truckers encourage one and all to come out to the stadium in the heart of Adelanto, California, to wish them well, see them off, and join the journey. This convoy is about freedom and unity. The truckers are riding unified across party and state lines and with people of all colors and creeds. Christians, Muslims, Sikhs, Mormons, agnostics, blacks, Hispanics, Asians, Native Americans, Republicans, Democrats, all individuals are welcome to participate by either attending the launch gathering at 10 a.m. Wednesday at the stadium or by getting in their own vehicles and following the big rigs toward the East Coast. The message of the People's Convoy is simple. The last 23 months of the COVID-19 pandemic have been a rough road for all Americans to travel, spiritually, emotionally, physically, and not least financially. With the advent of the vaccine and workable therapeutic agents, along with the hard work of so many sectors that contributed to declining COVID-19 cases and severity of illness, it is now time to reopen the country. The average American worker needs to be able to end run the economic hardships of the last 2 years and get back to the business of making bread so they can pay their rents and their mortgages and help jumpstart the economy. Because, and I'm just going to stop there for a second, because the economy is really what's hurting people. It really is. This government overreaction, and not just here in the United States, globally, the government overreaction to this coronavirus, a common virus. Yes, some people did die, as happens from many coronaviruses, but it's not at such a level where there needs to be a state of emergency.
Still.
And it's still in place.
And I would also like to point out that more people started dying after they released the vaccine.
Oh, weird. That's not true, is it? Oh, you're right.
No, I'm a conspiracy theorist. Don't listen to me.
I'm a
aluminum foil hat.
I'm a theorist. I have theories about theories. To that end, all right, back to the article or the press release. To that end, it is time for elected officials to work with the blue-collar and white-collar workers of America and restore accountability and liberty by lifting all mandates and ending the state of emergency, as COVID is well in hand now, and Americans need to get back to work in a free and unrestricted manner. I'll stop there again because everybody, basically in the entire world, there might be some spots where they have, but for the most part, everybody has been exposed to COVID.
Right.
Near as I can tell.
I was working with someone last week, and she said, I've been vaxxed, double vaxxed, and boosted. She's wearing a mask. She said, I haven't gotten COVID yet. And I just basically said to her, you're going to get it.
Or she already has and she doesn't know.
Or she, yeah, exactly. Like everyone's going to get it no matter what you
do. I do feel sorry for like somebody like you're describing who has done all these things and hasn't become ill and won't because they got it and they're asymptomatic or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And they're going to continue to like just be this sort of restrained type of person because they haven't got it yet. It'll be 5 years, 10 years down the road. They'll be like, well, I still didn't get it, so I'm not yet. Well, like, how can you live like that?
And the precautions that people are taking are destroying their immune systems. Wearing gloves all the time, wearing like 6 masks, bleaching groceries, constantly sanitizing everything, overuse of hand sanitizer, all of those things. Yeah. I mean, the overuse of hand sanitizer actually creates more super infections that are resistant to hand sanitizers and different sort of antibacterials. So all of these precautions that people are taking are actually making their own personal situation so much worse.
Yeah. And I got the COVID. relatively early on, along with a few other hosts here at Free Talk Live. And I mean, I stayed away for 2 weeks because that's what everybody said. 2 weeks, right? Quarantine's 2 weeks. Right? Okay, all right. I had it, and it was a weird flu. Right, it was slightly different than like the regular flu.
Can't smell anything
for me, in the fact that like the symptoms were a little bit out of order compared to how I normally get them in the flu. Right. But also, the loss of taste, and I had maybe for like a day, I had like a bit of I'll call it delirium, just this sort of like where like reality and my dreams were sort of melting into one. I was this half conscious sort of thing. It was weird.
I found my loss of motivation to do anything.
I've never lost that.
Well,
I've had that for a while.
Well, just like you're on the couch, like, well, do I want to get up and get? I'll just
well, it's like general fatigue, right? That you get from being like
definitely,
ill.
Yeah. I did lose a bit of weight, and I drank a whole bunch of fluids.
Scotch?
No. Ironically enough, I actually stayed away from booze. I generally, when I get sick, I douse myself with water, and by douse I mean I drink a bunch of water and fruit juice, pineapple juice, orange juice. I'll do cranberry juice specifically. These are the ones that I look for. But I mean, I'll drink a variety of stuff. But generally, I'm just chugging fluids the entire time I'm ill because I know that my body's going to consume them and go through them and use them, and I need the vitamins and et cetera and so on. And so outside of that, it was flu-like and, this loss of taste and smell and the delirium, like, even with those things included, it wasn't like that. I had never once thought I was going to die. I never once felt so bad that I was going to have to go to the hospital.
Actually, I thought I might die because of all the television stories saying, you might die. Now I've got it. Like, I might die. But I didn't die.
And also, I want to mention, I know a lot of people don't believe in stuff like this, but I am a heavy believer in manifestation and the law of attraction. In the power of your mind to the things you are thinking and the words you are saying are like a catalyst or a boomerang. The thoughts and the words that you're sending out into the universe are constantly coming back towards you into your life.
Yes.
So when people are like, COVID, you're literally manifesting illness into your life.
And the TV is saying that you're going to get sick and die.
So it's like this massive manifestation of all of these people watching the news and everybody constantly regurgitating this narrative that are making it so much worse. And some people don't believe in that, but I do.
You mean large quantities of people can be controlled by sending them the same message repeated over and over again through thousands of different outlets by thousands of different providers?
I think so.
That's called, what's it called? Oh, it's called
mass
programming.
Mass hypnosis.
It's called programming.
Television programming.
Weird. Is that why, like, when I bump into people and they try and talk about, like, current events or topics, that they all repeat the same buzzwords and phrases? 603-283-6160. I've got a little bit more about the People's Convoy, and I also want to talk about the potential of 500 people to be freed because of one cop.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
I'm crazy about My Magic Mud. This is the most important oral care product created this millennium, and I'm not kidding. We all have different opinions on politics and issues, but we all have mouths. And I want yours to be as clean as possible, with teeth as bright as they were meant to be. I will never be without My Magic Mud. It's a little surprising, but man, does it work. If you only listen to one thing I say ever, go to mymagicmud.com and get 20% off with code FTL. mymagicmud.com, code FTL.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Simon Marks with the Week in Review. And the week ended with tensions rising dramatically over Ukraine. President Biden saying he now believes Vladimir Putin has decided to invade.
You are convinced that President Putin is going to invade Ukraine. Is that what you just said a few moments ago?
Yes, I did. Yes.
Diplomacy off the table then?
No, until he does, diplomacy is always a possibility.
He was speaking after crisis talks with European leaders. The entire week was consumed by diplomatic efforts to defuse the crisis after the US said the Russians were lying when they claimed to be withdrawing troops from the Ukrainian border. Pentagon spokesman John Kirby on Monday.
I would just say this. Should he choose to invade again, he is doing all the things you would expect him to do to make sure he's ready for that option.
And Secretary of State Antony Blinken at the UN Security Council on Thursday.
The information I presented here is validated by what we've seen unfolding in plain sight before our eyes for months.
He's agreed to meet the Russian foreign minister next week in Europe, but only if no invasion of Ukraine occurs before then. Northern Europe got hit by record-breaking storms at the end of the week. Winds of up to 150 kilometres per hour were recorded in some parts of Germany. FSN's Trent Murray hunkered down in FSN's Berlin bureau.
Train operator Deutsche Bahn has cancelled many long-distance services, while fallen trees have caused travel disruption on the roads. In Bavaria, around 10,000 homes have been left without power because of downed power lines, while at Berlin International Airport, passengers faced delays as authorities said it was unsafe to board aircraft due to the winds.
And in Britain, part of the roof of the Millennium Dome in London was ripped off by Storm Eunice. Donald Trump had a difficult week. His accounting firm dropped him as a client, telling New York investigators the Trump Organization's financial filings for the last 10 years could no longer be viewed as reliable. On Friday, the National Archives said it had found classified material in boxes of presidential papers that made their way to the former president's Mar-a-Lago estate, not the archives themselves. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau invoked the country's Emergencies Act for the first time, saying he needed its additional power to deal with protesting truckers besieging Ottawa. By Friday night, protest leaders had been arrested and the police were clearing the streets as a fevered debate about civil liberties raged in Canada. 9 families who lost 6 and 7-year-old children in the 2012 Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting in Connecticut won a $73 million payout from Remington. It becomes the first gun manufacturer ever held responsible for the murderous actions a shooter committed with one of their weapons. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN. Ongoing tensions between Russia and Ukraine will, of course, dominate sentiment on Wall Street throughout the upcoming trading week, and traders will also be waiting for some key inflation readings towards the back end of the week. With the preview from FSN's business desk in New York, Will Denzelo.
The first major piece of economic data due out this week is Tuesday's Consumer Confidence Index. It will provide traders with a sense of how the public feel about inflation, the pandemic, and the general state of the economy. Then on Friday, investors will get a chance to digest consumer spending figures for January. Spending ticked down 0.6% in December, and Wall Street analysts will be hoping for a better showing. Friday also sees the release of some key inflation figures that will be watched closely by the Federal Reserve and traders alike. This week also sees a revision for fourth quarter GDP.
The week saw a bombshell announcement of a settlement in a civil lawsuit between Prince Andrew and Virginia Giuffre. Reports in London suggested the Duke of York will pay his accuser £12 million in compensation. There is no admission of wrongdoing on the Prince's part. Royal commentator Peter Hunt.
People have spoken a lot about how he wanted his day in court, how Virginia Giuffre wanted her day in court, but actually her lawyer had a sort of very sophisticated interview a few weeks ago where he talked about it being resolved in a way that vindicates her, that's his client Giuffre, and vindicates the other victims. He said, I don't think she has a firm view as to what a resolution should be, and a purely financial settlement wasn't what they wanted, and they didn't want a tax on her morals and credibility. And I think we've seen here some shift by Andrew towards that.
In the coming week, once again, we will focus extensively on the crisis over Ukraine. FSN's team in Moscow, Kyiv, at NATO headquarters in Brussels, at the UN in New York, and all points in between will cover every twist and turn in the story here and for our broadcast clients around the world. And that is the Week in Review from Feature Story News. Simon Marks reporting.
It's the Onion Radio News. An area man doesn't know what to do with all the extra ketchup packets. This is Doyle Redland reporting. After finishing his Big Bacon Classic combo, Erie, Pennsylvania resident and Wendy's patron Don Turnby, 38, expressed uncertainty today regarding what to do with all the extra ketchup packets. Turnby had asked for extra ketchup upon placing his order for a ketchup-necessitating Biggie fries.
Well, I knew it was too many ketchups because I usually only need 3 or 4 for my Biggie fries, but I just took them anyway.
At his nearby home, the Turnby pantry is crammed with hundreds of other restaurant condiments, including single-serving packets of Taco Bell mild sauce, Arby's horsey sauce, soy sauce, McDonald's Chicken McNuggets hot mustard sauce, pats of shed spread country crock from Ponderosa Steakhouse, and a selection of Smucker's jellies and jams from several area diners. Doyle Redland for the Onion Radio News, online at theonion.com.
Free Talk Live.
Our numero dos here on El Free Talk Live, because I don't know how to say Free Talk Live. It's Espanol. El Free Talk Live. 603-283-6160. We'll get to calls in just a moment. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the captain,
Steve Classic,
and Nikki.
We've been talking about, well, several fun things. We've been talking about this guy, Jean-Luc Besson, who was associated with Jeffrey, I believe it's the subject, Jeffrey Epstein. And he also allegedly hung himself in a French prison. And no cameras were recorded. Cameras were there, but not recording, apparently, allegedly. And Steve
ran out of hard drive space, probably.
Steve Classic is holding up a photo of the guard who was in charge, allegedly.
If you're watching the video,
watching over at video.freetalklive.com.
When it comes around, I'll bring it back up.
We've talked about this United States version of a truckers' convoy protest. We've talked about some other things, and we'll talk about more. But first, let's go to Justin. Justin, where are you calling from?
Well, gentlemen, I'm in the South, the Deep South.
The Deep South, and you're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
Well, I want everybody to know that there's some good healthcare solutions that can help you in any case. And they're usually plant medicine. And for every different thing, you might need something different. But it's good to know somebody who knows about the different plants. So if I were to say you need to do something, I couldn't do that because I'm not licensed to practice medicine.
Sure.
But I've noticed a lot of people saying that drinking dandelion tea can help them feel better for almost anything.
I have had dandelion wine in my life. And
Yeah, I've had dandelion mead. That's good.
Yeah.
The dandelion tea does have like immune boosting properties.
Some antioxidants or something. Yeah.
Like vitamin C or something, but it is good for your immune system.
What else, Justin?
There's different types, right? There's root and there's leaf and this and that.
Yeah.
But people that are feeling sick, they try the dandelion tea. It's almost like an instant feeling better. Okay, and then the other thing I wanted to talk about was this convoy that we got coming up.
Breaker 19.
And it's not specific to the convoy necessarily, but we got to show the truckers some respect every day. Even if we don't see the convoy, even if we're not with the convoy, we got to show these truckers respect because they got a lot of stress on them. It ain't easy driving a truck.
No
and
doubt.
it ain't easy driving near a bunch of bad drivers either.
No doubt.
So we got to step up our game everywhere in the country to give the trucks more space, to not tailgate them, to pass them quick, not sit in their blind spot. And the government really hasn't trained us to be professional drivers. We're kind of at our free will out there on the road.
Government?
Yeah, I mean, the government does things like gives you a suggestion for how fast you should go, and they put their road pirates out, periodically to extract some money from you. But yeah, other than that, they can barely keep the roads in a nice enough condition for the truckers to get by on. So,
well, that's true. And the truckers, they got to get somewhere, and they're trying to get there quick. So they're sometimes on the gas a little more than they should be, but we all need these products that they're bringing around. So we got to try and give them a little more room, be a little more courteous to them. It's not easy moving all that weight around on the road.
Hey, Justin, appreciate the call. Thanks for calling. I don't think that guy was named Justin at all. I believe his name is Rubber Duck.
Or the Bandit.
Anyone? No, nobody.
No,
like that. Okay.
That one right
I
over
thought he
my
sounded
head,
like the
sorry.
You're old enough
like
for
the
that.
Bandit. Yeah, that was Jerry. Who was the singer? Jerry.
No, he didn't do Convoy.
Convoy. Oh, not
no. Convoy was by somebody.
C.W. McCall.
That's the one. Yes, but not Jerry Lee Lewis.
No, Jerry.
Jerry Attrick.
He was with Burt Reynolds in the Smoking the Bandit. Jerry, what the heck's his last
Jerry
name?
Attrick?
Jerry Attrick. That's me.
Oh, if only there were a magic rectangle.
Yes, I have one right here with that picture of the security guard on it.
If only there were a magic rectangle in which we could. Jerry Reed.
Jerry Reed. That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jerry Reed.
Is that the security guard's name?
This is. Oh no. That.
Well, I mean, that's the name that they signed in under. Yes.
Jerry Reed.
So we know that that's a fake name because
Breaker 19.
This was in France, where the Jean-Luc himself. Yeah. So I believe that Justin was actually the Rubber Duck, using a pseudonym so as not to give away his trucker origins. His handle. He didn't want the acclaim. He didn't want the fame of, the legendary Rubber Duck called into Free Talk Live.
Yeah. I remember being a kid in the 70s and getting a CB. There used to be CB clubs, and everyone would have CB radios.
The CB,
it was great.
I've said this before on this show, but the CB was actually the first internet.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
It's where you would go to ask questions.
A chat room.
It was the first chat room. It was the first forum, right? It was the first video chat, except no video, right?
Right.
So, but like voice chat.
Yeah.
Certainly it had that. And also, at the advent of the internet, what was the first rule of the internet? Don't put your personal information on the internet.
And now we have social media where it's like, here's my kids and everything about my life.
Don't post pictures of children on the internet.
What did that rule create early on in the internet? It created handles for everybody.
Yeah.
Right, everybody had their internet handle.
Right.
That's where Captain Kickass comes from. Well, kind
Steve
of.
Classic.
I was Captain Kickass before
That's how
the
Nikki
internet.
Sunshine came about. That was like my Facebook name, so I wouldn't put my real name on the internet.
Perfect.
And then everybody just kept calling me Nikki Sunshine, and I was like, you know what? This is way better than my legal government name.
Yeah. What about you? Did you have an internet handle early on?
No. I had a radio handle in college.
What about a CB handle?
I did. I was the Road Rider.
The Road Rider.
Yes. Yeah, I remember that. KZC 1077, 1977.
All right.
KZC 1977. So if you look that up on the Magic Rectangle, you can find out who I am.
Okay.
Because I changed my name for radio. Steve Classic.
Well,
That's
I mean,
not
you
really
are
my name.
You are classic.
But yeah, there's two Steves.
There's more than
two Steves, but yeah.
I think.
Maybe.
Internet handle.
Yeah, so it created a bunch of handles for people to use, and because they didn't want to put their, and then those names became something, at least for folks who didn't have them before the internet. I went through some rigmarole with some social media places who tried to shut down my account because I wasn't using my what do they call it? My authentic name.
Your government given name?
They couldn't say your government's name because then you'd be like, oh, we're slaves to the government. You want to use the government name? Yeah. So anyway,
Well, too obvious. They have to
What does your mom
tone it down
call
a
you?
little bit.
So I had to jump through some unusual hoops and provide them with identification of Captain Kickass. And so I found a press pass with Captain Kickass on it. I have
Electric Bill.
I used to not only be in a band and play shows live out on the West Coast in the Seattle area for 22 years, but I would book shows as well. And so those shows that I booked, I was the entity that booked them. The manager put on the show, whatever, all that kind of stuff. And so I had some backstage passes with Captain Kickass on it. And I also am ordained by the Church of Spiritual Humanism, and I actually sent in and got the certificate that says Captain Kickass is an ordained minister of the Church of Spiritual Humanism. And these were the documents that I sent in, and they still didn't turn my account back on.
Wow.
But I did some things behind the scenes, and eventually they turned it back on because I was so annoying, right, that they were like, oh, my God, who's this guy? Oh, God, he's right.
Letter.
Okay, fine, just turn it back on. And they did. And so now I'm reluctant to leave that platform because I invested so much time and effort combating their horrific naming algorithm that singled me out, along with some what do you call the drag people, the drag queens?
The drag queens?
Yeah, because they always have interesting names, right? That don't seem real.
Cher.
All right, and then also some of the Sioux Indians from like South Dakota, the Oglala Sioux, I believe is how it's pronounced. They have your traditional, sort of Cowboys and Indians film names like Brett Two Bulls, right? Like so, but this algorithm is filtering that out and saying, no, your name isn't authentic, even though it's totally their authentic and real name.
Typical colonialism.
603-283-6160. More Free Talk Live is coming up. We will talk about one cop and potentially over 500 cases.
There are basically two types of advertising: direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
After a devastating war, the alien visitors were driven back, and their willing human collaborators were left behind to face the music. When Emma Jean Anderson's ex-lover brings her from prison, Nathan Foster and his 14-year-old nephew Ben are tasked with bringing the pair to justice. An easy enough job until they discover something is inside Emma Jean, and the fate of the planet hangs in the balance. The Family Business by Mike Coopery from BaneBooks.com.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in Liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com. Are you tired of governments around the world killing innocent people? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin is money that cannot be inflated or controlled by any state. By continuing to use their money, you're perpetuating the killing. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available to you now. Learn it, use it, spread it.
Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. It's Bitcoin.com.
Free Talk Live, the show where anyone can call about whatever they want. And we do mean anyone.
The first point is it's legal, and that's important. Now, my question to you would be, they gassed Jews legally in Germany. Was that a good law?
Well, I don't know. I don't live in Germany.
Come on.
You don't know?
You don't know whether it was a good idea to gas Jews. You don't know whether it was a good idea to incarcerate Japanese Americans during World War II.
What does that have to do with them crossing the borders of the United States of America?
I'm making a point, and I'm drawing a parallel, and it's a clear parallel, and you're dodging it. Do good people disobey bad laws, Buck?
No.
Good people do not disobey bad laws?
Criminals dodge the law.
Buck, wait a second. What if they outlawed guns in your state? Would you turn yours in, Buck?
Oh, absolutely, in a minute.
You would? Well, I'm sorry. You're a fascist. Bye.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. Welcome back. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. We've been telling you about how Intercoin can help any business and organization launch their own currency or raise money using their own token. Well, now Intercoin has launched its investor token worldwide, and for the first time, it's available on an exchange. You can create an account at xmarkets.com. That's exmarkets.com with only an email address so you can keep your privacy intact. Then you can deposit dozens of different cryptocurrencies, including Bitcoin, trade them for Tether, and then buy ITR. That's the Intercoin Investor Token. Learn more about the Intercoin vision at intercoin.org. And now you can buy or sell ITR on xmarkets.com. That's exmarkets.com. You just might be advancing the cause of liberty around the world. All right, 603-283-6160 is the number if you would like to join us in the studio. It's myself, the captain.
Steve Classic.
And Nikki.
All right, so this is from the freethoughtproject.com. That is thefreethoughtproject.com. Over 230 people freed after a single New York Police Department cop caught framing innocent people for drug crimes. That's right, 230 people have been freed over one single cop's poor actions. Granted, they're incentivized to do this kind of stuff, but
unfortunately, this is not uncommon. Maybe to this degree, but
I mean, who knows, right? Who knows? Because who watches the watchers, right? The cops,
exactly.
Cops do have what they call internal affairs, but for them to ever really kind of go against their fellow cops, right? Everybody talks about the thin blue line and the brotherhood and, you know, all that kind of stuff, and like, these guys are conditioned to not rat on each other, much like any other gang.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. Once you're in that gang, you're all sticking together.
Yeah. You don't snitch on your brothers, and they don't snitch on you, all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Despite the fact that they are financed by, well, coercion, theft. So, and anyway, this is out of Brooklyn, New York. Charges against the now disgraced New York PD detective Joseph Franco are being welcomed by the families of more than 130 New Yorkers, as it is leading to the dismissal of their family members' charges. Franco was reportedly caught framing innocent individuals last year, and this is the second wave of dismissals tied to his corruption. Last April, Brooklyn District Attorney Eric Gonzalez's Conviction Review Unit asked for the dismissal of 27 felony convictions and 63 misdemeanor convictions based on Franco's corrupt policing. Now, that number has grown as Bronx Supreme Court Justice David Lewis granted the motion to drop the felony cases against 133 defendants who were indicted between 2011 and 2015. Those are some amazing numbers, just in and of themselves. 133
from one police officer.
One
that's crazy.
Cop. One cop.
How many police officers are in the NYPD?
Thousands?
25,000?
Yeah,
30,000?
aren't they the third largest military in the world, according to...
Yeah.
You know,
so that's just from one.
What I also find very interesting about this last paragraph that I just read is that the Brooklyn District Attorney has a department called the Conviction Review Unit.
Wouldn't you think that after you should do the review before somebody's convicted? Like, shouldn't we need all of the evidence before we're convicting people of crimes they didn't do?
This insinuates that convictions are so frequently incorrect that a department called the Conviction Review Unit has been formed to, I would imagine, review some convictions. And they're the ones who asked for the dismissal of 27 felony convictions and 63 misdemeanor convictions based on Franco's corrupt policing.
So is this guy in jail?
He's sticking with his brothers.
We'll find out. We did not want to dismiss or vacate out of hand all cases he was involved in. We investigated those that hinged on his testimony and sworn statements, Bronx County District Attorney Darcel Clark said in a statement. Franco's compromised credibility suggests a lack of due process in the prosecution of these defendants, and we cannot stand behind these convictions.
You think?
Yeah. How about it's about time? Hundreds of cases have gone by in which you could have done something, but no.
One man.
I know. I wonder how long this spans over. Like, how many years was he doing this?
Good question.
I mean,
how
hundreds.
How long has that review board been doing this? Is this their first review? Well, we're starting with our first guy. We found 170. Let's go to our second guy.
This, at least the 133 felony cases that were dropped were from 2011 to 2015. So only a 4-year span for just those cases. Anyway, an additional 250 cases are under review, and a total of 500 cases could be dropped.
Wow. That's a lot of lives ruined by this guy, or at least temporarily ruined, right? Because now they're going to get out of jail, hopefully. But, I mean...
Yeah. According to ABC7, Franco was indicted in Manhattan for perjury, official misconduct, and other charges in connection with 4 incidents whereby he allegedly framed numerous individuals for making narcotics transactions. According to the Conviction Review Unit, the dozens of cases are being dismissed because Franco's crimes have discredited his witness testimonies. Duh. Right? You know, like, oh, look, he's a liar. Oh, look at all these other cases in which it was only his testimony that got these people chucked into the can. Oh, what are we going to do about those? Oh, we don't have any choice because if we don't overturn these and set people free, there's going to be a lynching.
Yeah.
Or at least a lot of lawsuits.
At least that would be my guess as to, what may occur. We've seen, police departments burn for, lesser things. At any rate, according to the conviction, we said that already, criminal convictions largely based on the work of corrupt former or active NYPD officers who engaged in misconduct while executing their duties flies in the face of oaths officers take to protect and serve New Yorkers, said Elizabeth Felber.
Police officers breaking their oaths to serve the community? No.
Come on, man.
They do that when they put the uniform on.
Yeah.
Like, when they cash their paycheck. Right?
Yeah,
literally. They don't even have to be out of the academy. When they cash their first paycheck, they are flying in the face of their oath. Anyway, that was said by Elizabeth Felber, the director of the Wrongful Convictions Unit. So wait, they have a Conviction Review Unit, and then now we have
a
Wrongful Conviction Unit,
which is a subsidiary of
at the Legal Aid Society in a statement according to the NY Post. There is more to this story, and we'll tell you all about it here on Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160 if you would like to comment on this or take control of the airwaves. Talk about whatever's on your mind. More Free Talk Live coming up.
Free Talk Live's video archives have been on LBRY for years. LBRY is an uncensorable, decentralized, blockchain-based media sharing protocol, and we're big fans of it here on Free Talk Live. In 2020, LBRY launched Odyssey, a video sharing website to compete with YouTube, and it's really taking off. Now with over 1 million channels, many of whom are disaffected YouTube creators. During YouTube's crackdown for not towing the government line on COVID, the Free Talk Live YouTube channel started receiving strikes and could be completely taken down at any moment. Thankfully, Odyssey started offering live streaming, so we're now streaming live every night and posting our video archives permanently to Odyssey. You can watch live or anytime on our Odyssey channel by visiting video.freetalklive.com. If you want to go all in, download the desktop app at lbry.com, and then every video archive you watch, you'll help seed and keep it online forever. At minimum, we ask you visit video.freetalklive.com and follow us on Odyssey today. video.freetalklive.com.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Jagruti Dave. U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken has said the extension of Belarus and Russia's military drills makes him more concerned about the possibility of a Russian invasion. The exercises were expected to come to an end on Sunday. Russia has repeatedly denied it plans to invade Ukraine. But the U.S. and its allies have accused Russia of trying to create a pretext for war. And according to U.S. media reports, President Biden's claim last week that Vladimir Putin has made the decision to attack Ukraine was based on U.S. intelligence indicating Russian troops had been given orders to proceed with an invasion. Mr. Biden cancelled a trip to Delaware to remain at the White House following a rare weekend meeting of the National Security Council. But officials in Washington maintain there is still a diplomatic path forward. U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken told CNN State of the Union he's expecting to meet his Russian counterpart in Europe on Thursday.
It all depends on what Russia does in the coming days. If it doesn't invade, I'll be there. I hope he'll be there too.
Mr. Blinken and Vice President Kamala Harris also defended the U.S.'s decision not to slap Russia with preemptive sanctions. French President Emmanuel Macron has discussed a possible ceasefire in eastern Ukraine in a phone call with Vladimir Putin. Our Moscow correspondent Julia Chapman has more on the conversation between the two leaders.
The French and Russian presidents expressed concern about the ongoing tensions, the violence in eastern Ukraine, according to the Kremlin readout. President Vladimir Putin pointed that finger firmly at the Ukrainian authorities, not taking any responsibility for the events of recent days. But the two of them did agree to continue engagement, search for a diplomatic solution. But the Kremlin also pointed out that the US and NATO, from Moscow's perspective, are continuing to ignore Russia's red lines and its security guarantees.
Britain's Queen Elizabeth has tested positive for COVID-19. In a statement, Buckingham Palace said she's experiencing mild symptoms. The 95-year-old monarch's son, Prince Charles, tested positive for the virus last week, and it's believed there are several staff at Windsor Castle who have also contracted COVID-19. Royal commentator Peter Hunt has more on the details released by the palace.
They're saying that she's got mild cold-like symptoms. They're saying she'll do light duties at Windsor and she'll follow guidance, and obviously she'll follow all appropriate guidelines. At the moment, the rule is isolation, so she'll follow that until and if it changes. And of course, she is at higher risk from her age, but she is obviously benefiting from the fact that it's understood that she has been triple jabbed.
People in England who test positive for the virus have to self-isolate for at least 5 days, but the UK government is preparing to scrap that requirement. Prime Minister Boris Johnson said he was sure he spoke for everyone in wishing Her Majesty the Queen a swift recovery from COVID and a rapid return to vibrant good health. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
Dance, monkeys, dance. Woohoo! Shake it. That's it. Clap your hands. Good. He thought it was funny. Yes, weird jokes here on Free Talk Live. 603-283-6160. In the studio tonight, it's
Steve Classic.
And Nikki.
And I am your host, the Reverend Captain Kickass. We've been talking about this article from the Free Thought Project about somewhere between 230, over 230 people have already been freed, apparently, after a single cop caught framing innocent people for drug crimes. And as many as 500 people may have their cases dropped or be released when all is said and done. How can one cop be responsible for 500 cases where people are wrongfully committed, or something's wrong with his testimony and evidence? We know that the state is an organization of violence and coercion and has a monopoly on it because they won't allow competition. So I get that, like, these people are incentivized, all that kind of stuff, but this is out of hand.
Well, his numbers are approaching the Clintons' numbers.
You're like, they're rookie numbers compared to Clinton.
Yeah, right. Jeez. I mean, it brings us back to our first story.
This guy's small time. Oh, it is just... And they have these different... They have the conviction review unit, and then they have the wrongful conviction unit.
Who's paying for that?
Yeah, well, of course...
Taxpayers.
Yeah, they're taking it out of your wallet. Well, proverbial your. You don't live in New York, so probably not your wallet specifically. But if you've ever traveled there, you've probably, given up some tax money or some revenue to a tollway or something like that. So, yeah, you.
So some guy can wrongfully imprison 500 people?
So some guy can, join the force and get promoted to the wrongful conviction unit.
Yeah.
That's probably where this guy's going to get promoted to.
It's got to be a pretty big unit.
Eats a lot of vegetables.
Eats a lot of vegetables. We'll talk more about this, but first let's go to your calls and thoughts. Let's start with Jimmy in Missouri. Jimmy, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, I had a question for Nikki about her vegan diet.
Sure.
I was just wondering what you eat in a day.
First off, I eat like 4 bananas a day. I eat a lot of nuts and beans, chickpeas, one of my favorites. I don't know. I eat a lot of fruit. Oh, yeah. Mainly I don't eat like the fake vegan food, like the fake cheeses and stuff. I mainly eat like a whole foods, like fruits and vegetables diet, but try to make sure
cool.
I get ample amounts of protein.
Yeah, I like the whole food plant-based diet. Anytime I eat it, I feel fantastic. I feel great. But I was like, what do you do with the chickpeas? Do you just eat the foods separately by themselves, or make like a little dish or something?
No, I do hummus a lot, but I'll make like salads and stuff and throw chickpeas or beans in there, and rice and beans.
Some people might be confused because chickpeas are also known as
garbanzo beans. So
commonly found on like salads and stuff.
Yeah.
I actually make some really good vegan tacos with a can of black beans, a can of corn, and some rice. Just put it all in a like a little Tupperware thing, put some taco seasoning in there, shake the devil out of it, and then put it on corn tortillas, and it tastes great.
Yeah.
No cheese?
No cheese.
No cheese.
I'm not a real big cheese man. So.
That's not vegan, right? Cheese.
Hey, thanks for the call, Jimmy. Appreciate it. Enjoy your vegan diet.
Mushrooms too. I have to give mushrooms a shout out. I eat so many different sensitive
No,
subjects.
go ahead. Give them.
I eat oyster mushrooms, lion's mane. I mean, they're good, but Captain unfortunately can't partake.
Yeah, me and mushrooms don't get along. There is still a Texas barbecue joint in Seattle, Washington. I know that doesn't make any sense, but it's there. It's called Jack's.
Are they confused?
It's actually, the owner is from Texas. He just happens to live in Seattle.
I'll accept it.
He noticed that there were no Texas-style barbecue joints in the Seattle area and opened one, and it's great. But on the menu, they did have a smoked. What's the mushroom? The mushroom portobello.
Yeah.
Smoked portobello mushroom sandwich. And so we convinced a guy at the office that I worked at, who is vegetarian or vegan or whatever. We're like, hey, they have this. He's like, I've never had a smoked mushroom before.
Yeah.
All right, I'll go. And he went. We got him to go to this, Texas bar. We're eating ribs and brisket and pulled pork and and he's just having this, and he's like, this is the most delicious mushroom I've had.
Yeah.
So I don't know why I talk about that right now. Just came to mind. Let's continue with your calls. Let's go to Sarah in New Mexico. Sarah, you're on Free Talk Live.
Oh, yes. I just want to mention that, do you guys remember this quote, be red or be dead?
I think the quote I remember was better red than dead, or better dead than red, sorry.
Yeah.
Better dead than red is the one I remember.
Oh, but do you kind of think this is the communist way of doing things? Just trample in and take over territory and make it communist? Don't you think that's what's going on now?
I mean, the United States of America is far more of a socialist nation, which is sometimes correlated to communism. In fact, so much so that the former Soviet Union would be so jealous as to the ability of the government to track and find and do all the communist things that they wanted to do that they would only dream of that the United States is currently doing, which is really sad, by the way.
Right, but you know something? One of the communist programs that have been gone, by the way, is our pension. It has been gone, believe it or not, in America. They tricked the labor unions into putting the pensions into the stock market, and it has been going down in value, and one day it's going to be completely gone. So that's the trickery of what they're pulling on people right now.
Well,
that
Sarah,
they don't know that the pension is gone.
The real trickery here is that the value of the United States dollar, which is managed by the Federal Reserve, which is neither federal nor has any reserves, has gone down and continues to go down more than 99%. And that is to say, in 100 years ago, one round of gold could probably one round gold coin, a round of silver, I guess.
It was like $33.
Yeah. So one ounce of gold
was $33.
Was $33. 1 ounce, 1 ounce of silver is now right around $33.
$24 or something like that.
$25. It was closer to 30. Anyway, 1 ounce of gold used to be able to buy like a really nice men's suit. Like you go to like a tailor or something like that. 1 ounce of gold used to be able to buy a really nice men's suit. Well, guess what? 1 ounce of gold can still buy today? A really nice men's suit. Right, but what can
$33
$33 in 1922 versus 2022 can't buy you that?
You could probably get a pair of nice sweatpants from Walmart for $30.
Yeah, maybe. So anybody who's bothered to save money in any way, shape, or form over the course of their life, the value of their savings, if they've kept it in dollars, controlled and managed by the Federal Reserve, they have lost money because the dollar continues to lose value over time. And that is the real crime. Thanks for the call, Sarah.
I was going to say, the money's not going into the pensions. It's going into the stock market. So if you give your money, if you're a union employee, your money goes to your pension. What does the pension fund do with that money? They put it in the stock market. Mm-hmm. So either way, it's going to the stock market because that's the only place you're going to make money now with interest rates at 0, or goldbacks.
Are you trying to get my attention? Flashing gold at me? Some goldbacks there?
They love it.
I love goldbacks. Oh, there we go. If you're watching at video.freetalklive.com, you can get a preview of some New Hampshire goldbacks. If you don't have them, you can find out all about them online. 603-283-6160. More Free Talk Live is next.
Hi, I'm Derek J. I don't want a politician to represent me. To me, government is the idea that one group of people can coerce everyone to comply with an edict or face increasing punishments up to and including death. Despite perhaps the most noble of intentions, the best government services are a far cry from what could be provided for by voluntary interactions. Besides, the people who call themselves the government wage wars and put peaceful people in jail for crimes involving no victims. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191. On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
You can help more people hear the message of liberty by joining Free Talk Live's AMPS program on Patreon for as little as $5 a month. And you'll get access to special perks. Visit amps.freetalklive.com, amps.freetalklive.com. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
Are you tired of your taxes funding endless occupations around the world? Antiwar.com is run by people who understand that wars abroad become wars at home, wars on our freedoms. Antiwar.com is dedicated to bringing you the latest in news, views, interviews, and reviews from the top movers and shakers in the anti-occupation movement. Antiwar.com has it all, from thorough foreign policy analysis to interviews with whistleblowers who used to run the military-industrial complex. Anti-war, pro-free market. That's antiwar.com.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
We're back. We better talk about something, guys. We are a talk show. We are. When people
This
call
is a talk
in.
show?
It is.
Oh.
We should talk about what we talk about in the break.
It's kind of. It's also a pseudo.
like pre-game. Okay, now we're on the air. Let's talk about what we're talking about.
It's also sometimes a pseudo reality show, right? But and a current events show,
And a comedy show.
a comedy show, definitely. We're many things to many people, especially ourselves. And this is Free Talk Live. For those of you just tuning in who might be wondering who these people are, well, I am the Reverend Captain Kickass. I am your host. Joining me,
Steve Classic
and Nikki.
We've been talking about this article from the Free Thought Project where one police officer could have as many as 500 cases he was involved in dropped, dismissed, or have the people ultimately released if they were sentenced and imprisoned. 500. One guy. Just one guy.
One man.
He was one man. He had one desire. To frame everybody he could and get promoted. This is such a horrifying story. It really is. According to the Conviction Review Unit, dozens of cases are being dismissed because of Franco's crimes. Criminal convictions largely based on the work of corrupt former active or New York PD. We talked about this already. After Gonzalez moved to dismiss the cases under his office, Judge Matthew D. Emick moved to dismiss dozens of similar drug convictions tied to the corrupt cop. Brooklyn criminal court judge Keisha Espinal followed suit by vacating more than 50 drug convictions. As for Franco, he is currently awaiting trial on dozens of counts of first-degree perjury and other related charges. Does that mean he's in jail?
Probably not.
Is he out on bail and free awaiting trial? Generally,
Probably
suggests that. Otherwise,
probably
it would say,
on paid leave.
Yeah. Otherwise, it would say he's currently in jail awaiting trial,
Yeah.
but it doesn't. It just says he's awaiting trial on dozens of counts of first-degree perjury and other related charges, despite facing over a dozen charges in April 2019 and again in July 2019. Franco was not fired from the department until a year later in May of 2020.
I want to know what charges is he facing? Because it said he was
Perjury.
framing people for narcotics, though. So shouldn't he be facing like drug dealing charges or something? Because clearly he was doing other things. Why else would he be framing these people? You know what I mean?
As far back as 2011, why wasn't he?
Yeah.
Why is it that when police do things that would get you or I,
Yeah.
The worst, harshest of treatments, why does it take so long for them to get fired?
Funny.
Qualified immunity? I don't know.
If I lied about something in my job and it resulted in one of my coworkers going to jail for something that they didn't do, but as soon as my employer found out, I would be fired.
Yeah, you would think.
It wouldn't take very long.
You don't have that special victims unit like they do.
Yeah, I don't have
I
the
know.
wrongful convictions.
Yeah.
Or just the convictions review unit. Right.
CRU.
So anyway, it shows you an unbelievable ripple effect that one individual who wears a shield can have on lives of hundreds, if not thousands, said Ada Leisenring, a criminal defense attorney with Barkett Epstein. Overturning a wrongful conviction is not a substitute for justice because the damage has already been done. That's a good point.
Yeah.
These people who, you want to feel good that, some people are getting out of jail or some people are having things dropped against them or, otherwise, but no, the damage is already done. This is not justice. Filing a lawsuit against the NYPD and receiving financial reparations for that is a step towards justice.
Okay, so the taxpayers can pay for these fines? Like what?
And this is the problem, of course, with government is that the taxpayer always loses.
Yeah, always.
There's never a win for a taxpayer. And taxpayer is even the wrong word. Tax victim.
Yeah.
Tax victim. Man.
Literally, you're being stolen from. You're having money taken by the largest mafia ever to roam planet Earth, at least if you live in the United States and pay some federal taxes. But in the case of New York City, if you live there and in the state even, your money is being stolen from you and given towards these insert cuss word here that I can't say on the radio.
Criminals, gang members,
thieves, goons, tyrants, parasites,
killers,
lunatics,
evil monopoly,
and
parasites.
And this defense attorney is correct. Filing a lawsuit against the NYPD and receiving financial reparations might make the families or the victims, feel a little bit better. They got some money for the wrongs that were done to them. But that money isn't coming from the cops who did the wrong. That money is coming from the taxpayers.
And that's the real issue, right? And that's why cops keep doing things like this, because they never face real repercussions, right? Like, they don't have to pay these victims money. They rarely have to go to jail themselves. So over 500 people were sitting in a jail cell for years due to this guy, and he's probably... he still has his job, right?
Well, he was eventually fired. But it took them years to fire him, even though these things were popping up at the time. The summary of why the system is wrong in every instance, why police can never actually do right, even when they try to do the right thing, the reason why governments can never be anything but a parasite on the side of the face of society is because the cost of being wrong is never paid by those who do the wrong.
Yeah.
Never. Not once. Not ever. And if you can find a case where it ever was, I can show you the rarest thing on the face of the earth, because that is not the case for most of the things that we see. Unfortunately, there's no shortage of police officers like Detective Franco. At the Free Thought Project, they report on cops who frame people frequently. One such cop whose actions were similar to the actions of Franco was Jackson County Sheriff's Deputy Zachary Wester. Wester was arrested in 2019 after video surfaced of his of this drug enforcement cop planting meth on an innocent grandmother.
What?
After the release of that video, other videos surfaced showing the officer planting drugs on other folks as well.
So can we just brainstorm for a minute here?
Sure.
Why do they do things like this? Because I'm racking my brain right now. I can't even come up with anything what the incentive is to frame these people. Is it fame? Is it he wants to be the officer that's doing the most stuff? Like, what is it?
The only thing I could think of is they want to get promoted, right? They want to have enough busts under their collar. They want to get the rewards and the accolades. I don't know if they have...
Trying to get up to a DEA job, like, oh yeah, busted all these people.
So it sounds like the incentive should be taken away. Like, why is there a quota that cops have to meet? Why is it a good thing for them to be busting all these people?
Yeah.
That incentive should be taken away.
Yeah, you're right. The incentive structure of government is beyond bizarre.
Yeah.
Right. The only incentives that really exist is for you to be corrupt if you aren't already. And if you are, welcome home. You found heaven, because it is ripe for abuse.
And it seems like it happens more often than not when someone with good intentions goes into law enforcement, and they either get corrupted or they just get thrown out.
Yeah, it's almost impossible for somebody with good intentions, a good sense of morality and ethics, to join any branch of government and be moral and ethical. It's almost impossible.
Yeah.
So the video showed that more people were utterly shocked when Wester claimed to have found drugs in their vehicles. When a single person may have been lying, when everyone reacts the exact same way, something is up. This characteristic led to State Assistant Attorney at the 14th Judicial Circuit, Christina Pumphrey, investigating the corrupt cop, and she discovered he'd been conducting this framing scheme for some time. As a result of Pumphrey's actions, which led to Wester's arrest, 119 other people were exonerated and freed from jail. Yeah, I don't know how much more you folks need to know before you realize that the system is the problem. The system isn't designed to bring justice. The system isn't designed to do the right thing. The system isn't designed to protect you. It isn't designed to protect your family. It isn't designed for any of the things, any of the sort of righteous things you think it's been designed for. No, it works exactly as designed because it is a cattle management system.
Yeah, that's what I always think when people say, oh, the system is broken.
Nope.
It's not.
Nope. If you look at the output of the system and how good or how consistent it's been at maintaining that level of output of what it puts out, which is all crap, by the way, it is doing its job just fine. 603-283-6160. Hour number 3 of Free Talk Live is next.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
Is oral health important to you? If you don't like your own teeth, fresh breath, or kissing people, then by all means stop listening. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I became passionate about the product that she created and never want to live without it. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, but I find it does much more. They want you to love My Magic Mud as much as I do, so they're giving you a money-back guarantee plus 20% off. Go to mymagicmud.com and use coupon code FTL20 at checkout. mymagicmud.com, FTL20.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Jagruti Dave. U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken has said the extension of Belarus and Russia's military drills makes him more concerned about the possibility of a Russian invasion. The exercises were expected to come to an end on Sunday. Russia has repeatedly denied it plans to invade Ukraine. But the U.S. and its allies have accused Russia of trying to create a pretext for war. And according to U.S. media reports, President Biden's claim last week that Vladimir Putin has made the decision to attack Ukraine was based on U.S. intelligence indicating Russian troops had been given orders to proceed with an invasion. Mr. Biden cancelled a trip to Delaware to remain at the White House following a rare weekend meeting of the National Security Council. But officials in Washington maintain there is still a diplomatic path forward. U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken told CNN State of the Union he's expecting to meet his Russian counterpart in Europe on Thursday.
It all depends on what Russia does in the coming days. If it doesn't invade, I'll be there. I hope he'll be there too.
Mr. Blinken and Vice President Kamala Harris also defended the U.S.'s decision not to slap Russia with preemptive sanctions. French President Emmanuel Macron has discussed a possible ceasefire in eastern Ukraine in a phone call with Vladimir Putin. Our Moscow correspondent Julia Chapman has more on the conversation between the two leaders.
The French and Russian presidents expressed concern about the ongoing tensions, the violence in eastern Ukraine, according to the Kremlin readout. President Vladimir Putin pointed the finger firmly at the Ukrainian authorities, not taking any responsibility for the events of recent days. But the two of them did agree to continue engagement, search for a diplomatic solution. But the Kremlin also pointed out that the US and NATO, from Moscow's perspective, are continuing to ignore Russia's red lines and its security guarantees.
Britain's Queen Elizabeth has tested positive for COVID-19. In a statement, Buckingham Palace said she's experiencing mild symptoms. The 95-year-old monarch's son, Prince Charles, tested positive for the virus last week, and it's believed there are several staff at Windsor Castle who have also contracted COVID-19. Royal commentator Peter Hunt has more on the details released by the palace.
They're saying that she's got mild cold-like symptoms. They're saying she'll do light duties at Windsor and she'll follow guidance, and obviously she'll follow all appropriate guidelines. At the moment, the rule is isolation, so she'll follow that until and if it changes. And of course, she is at higher risk from her age, but she is obviously benefiting from the fact that it's understood that she has been triple jabbed.
People in England who test positive for the virus have to self-isolate for at least 5 days, but the UK government is preparing to scrap that requirement. Prime Minister Boris Johnson said he was sure he spoke for everyone in wishing Her Majesty the Queen a swift recovery from COVID and a rapid return to vibrant good health. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks. The weekend saw tension between Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and US Vice President Kamala Harris when they met at the Munich Security Conference. The Ukrainian leader urged the imposition of sanctions against Russia now, wanting to know why the Biden administration wants to wait until after a Russian invasion of his country begins. He even warned of the dangers of appeasing Vladimir Putin at a time when some European allies are not not fully on board with the scale of the sanctions the US is proposing. So why aren't they already being rolled out? Rose Gottemuller is an American diplomat with long experience in the region and a former Deputy Secretary General of NATO.
Up to this point, Putin and the Russians have been very clever about plausible deniability, that it's the separatists fighting a war in eastern Ukraine that is a just war with, the Ukrainian fascist government in Kyiv. So it's been that kind of narrative, but it hasn't been anything about Russian boots on the ground. Once it's no longer this separatist activity, but Russian boots entering onto Ukrainian territory, that this will be the start of the triggering process.
President Biden shelved plans to spend Monday a holiday in the US at his home in Delaware, underscoring Washington's desire to launch sanctions whenever any Russian military action begins. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
The main headlines again. US Secretary of State Anthony Blinken has said the extension of Belarus and Russia's military drills makes him more concerned about the possibility of a Russian invasion. French President Emmanuel Macron has discussed a possible ceasefire in eastern Ukraine in a phone call with his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin. And Britain's Queen Elizabeth has tested positive for COVID-19. And that is the latest from Feature Story News. I'm Jagruti Dave in Washington.
Everyone in Pennington is talking about it. Something smells like weed in that back part of the library. Head librarian Cookie Stevens and library volunteers Margaret Mosier and Gail Fredericks were in the middle of discussing the upcoming used book sale-aganza when they smelled something strange.
So Doug smelled marijuana somewhere, and we're like shocked. Yeah. And so Doug goes, "Do you smell it?"
Without any way to confirm that the smell was indeed weed, Cookie Stevens called her husband Sheriff Stevens, who called in local ceramics teacher Dutch Gibbs, who lived in Seattle for a few months in the 70s.
Yeah, that's weed.
Sheriff Stevens has begun compiling a list of potential suspects, including that boy Lance, who has girl hair and hangs out down by the quarry, Greg Fromke, who was spotted this evening really going to town on some potato skins at Steaky Jake's Steakhouse, and Mr. Thompson. Luckily, one young reading enthusiast seemed unperturbed by the illicit smell.
Yeah, I don't smell anything. I really love the library.
The weed smell comes on the heels of last month's discovery of a gigantic pair of women's underpants in the children's fiction section. According to Stevens, that case remains open as well.
Free Talk Live.
Welcome back. That's right. You may dance your ass off to the opening music of Free Talk Live. We're the live radio call-in program where you can take control of the airwaves, talk about whatever is on your mind. The telephone number you need is 603-283-6160. Again, 603-283-6160. In the studio tonight, it is moi, the Reverend Captain Kickass. Joining moi, Steve Classic.
And Nikki Sunshine.
I like how you guys sort of changed up your cadence a little because I changed it.
Inspired me.
I was going with the French theme because of Jean-Luc Besson. And the bit about him allegedly hanging himself while no cameras were watching,
with fitted sheets.
in the key of Epstein.
His muse, his inspiration.
And don't forget, if you are watching Free Talk Live, I do have a...
over at video.freetalklive.com.
I have on my phone a picture
Breaking
of the
news.
Suspected prison guard who was on guard or on duty at the time of the hanging. If we can,
that is a very suspicious looking.
I've seen there. Let's see. There you go. If you're watching on Free Talk Live video feed, there
it'll be that
Officer
right one. See that one.
Clint
there you go.
Killery.
Clint Killery.
Clint T. Killery. So keep a watch out if you see that person. Let the French authorities know.
But if you're just listening, if you're in the radio audience, it would be someone who looks like Hillary Clinton with a mustache and glasses.
Speaking of video.freetalklive.com, Free Talk Live's video archives have been on Library for years. Library is an uncensorable, decentralized, blockchain-based media sharing protocol, and we're big fans of that here on Free Talk Live. In 2020, library launched Odyssey, a video sharing website to compete with YouTube. And it is really taking off now with over 1 million channels, many of whom are disaffected YouTube creators. During YouTube's crackdown for not towing the government line on COVID, the Free Talk Live YouTube channel started receiving strikes and could literally be taken down at any moment. Thankfully, Odyssey started offering live streaming, so now we're streaming live every night and posting our video archives permanently to Odyssey. You can watch live or anytime on our Odyssey channel by visiting video.freetalklive.com. If you want to go all in, download the desktop app over at lbry.com, and then every video archive you watch, you'll help seed to keep it online forever. Visit video.freetalklive.com and follow us on Odyssey today. Video.freetalklive.com.
The Royal Canadian Mounted YouTube. That's what it is.
Yeah. Every time that phrase, the Royal Canadian Mounted, right? Like it just
it sounds dirty.
It does. Yeah.
The vegetables.
Shouldn't it at least say the Royal Canadian Mounting? But they want to be the
no, they're mounted.
They want to be not the Mountee, but the Mounteur, right?
You would want to be a Mountee.
You would think they would at a minimum.
Horse, yeah.
Yeah, because it sounds like they're doing the deed with their horses. Right?
Don't be the Mountee.
They're royal, they're Canadian, and they're mounted, right? Like, sorry. I digress.
Wow.
I have this article from Bitcoin that I wanted to talk about today because I know you, Steve Classic, you were wanting to touch on how cryptocurrency... Oh, Bitcoin socks, Nick?
Yeah.
Bitcoin socks.
Dude, that's awesome. Are you on both feet?
On both feet, yeah.
Oh, that's
matching.
amazing.
Wow.
Now, is one black with red circles, the other, or with yellow circles, the other one yellow with black circles?
Nope, they're both the same, but I do have to confess, I stole these socks from Matt. So
you didn't really steal them, because if he was serious about socks, he'd have Monero socks.
He does have Monero socks.
See?
That I also accidentally put in my sock drawer.
Now, if you stole those, I could see him getting mad.
He might.
He won't be mad about the
just
Bitcoin socks.
Don't tell him, please.
Okay, nobody tell Matt that Nikki stole his socks. Bitcoin had a hand in the Ottawa Canadian truckers bit, or a foot.
Are those sunglasses too?
Bitcoin is a foot.
Oh, yeah. These are my Sunday socks, my fancy socks, you know?
So they are fancy. They're Sundays. You're wearing your Sunday best.
Socks. My Sunday best, yeah.
Sunday best.
My holy socks.
This holiest of days.
Bless.
The Canadian truckers, they had like a GoFundMe, something along those lines.
Yes, and then they I guess that money was stolen by GoFundMe, and they were going to distribute it to someone else.
Yeah, somehow that blew up. That blew up, and so the money, and so then Tally.io set up. Yes, Tally.io set up, or had some part in setting up a cryptocurrency type of funding campaign for these truckers. And you had some comments about.
Well, I was going to say, everyone is telling me, well, you see, the government is cracking down on crypto, and they're going to freeze your crypto. So I said, well, maybe if it's on an exchange and not in your cold wallet. But you brought up an interesting point by saying that it's not actually frozen.
True. Yeah, we discussed this a little bit last night on the episode. If you missed it, you can listen to it over at freetalklive.com over in the archive section. What they've done is they've identified certain Bitcoin or cryptocurrency addresses, and they've gone to the exchanges or financial institutions and said, don't conduct any transactions to these specific addresses. So they've frozen nothing. Right? They've only asked for these institutions to not conduct any transactions. Those addresses can still conduct transactions with anybody who voluntarily chooses to.
Couldn't you set up a second wallet and send the Bitcoin to the second wallet, and then that address is free?
Wow, it's like you're
wow. How tough is that to figure out? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, so what is the reason we're talking about this is because governments do not understand this still.
Right.
To this day, you sitting here, Steve Classic, you're like, well, can you just,
do that?
Yep, you sure could. And this is by design.
Boy, I get messages all the time from all the friends who are like, well, you're crazy. This crypto thing, the government's going to crack. It's going to become. And you try to explain it, and it's just. So the media really puts out a good.
Oh yeah. Just wait.
They just love putting
Just
that
wait.
stuff out.
The nerds will lead the way.
Yeah, only the richest people in the world are buying Bitcoin.
Not true.
Well, that's what they
Unless,
don't
of
want
course,
you to know.
Well, because you need to be able to afford an entire Bitcoin to buy a Bitcoin,
That's what people think.
Also false.
Yeah.
So it's
Very common misconception that, I can't afford a Bitcoin.
it's kind of sad that that's a. I don't
It's
want to
like
be
you can't
mean,
afford
but
a $100
but this
bill.
is it like that hard to figure out that you? I mean, I don't know.
This is
I don't like to be mean.
This is how, I don't want to say small-minded, but I mean, that's the words that pop into my head. Like how unable people are to imagine something that you can buy a fraction of.
So, and this is kind of what I was trying to allude to. People aren't very smart.
Thank you, public education.
Because your brain needs fat.
It's because
too many vegans.
It's the dang vegans.
It is. I mean.
So also this swerves into people wanting to take money out of the bank.
Right, the bank runs. Right.
The term bank run is that only happened during the the stock market crash.
Or when bankers eat too many beans, you get the bank runs.
The bank runs, exactly. But what's the Christmas movie where the guy's like, well, we don't have your money. It's in this guy's house, and it's we lent it out to so the money isn't really there.
Right.
It's all fractional reserved, lending and debt. So when you want your money, you can't get your money.
Right. I can't remember the video that I saw. I was talking about it, I think, in the breaks yesterday. That one of the things that sort of turned me towards libertarian economics, if you will, the Austrian economics school, was this video I saw on fractional reserve banking, where it talked about how money is created out of thin air just by the act of banks lending. They used to only need 10% in reserves to loan out, so if they were going to loan $100,000, they only needed like
$10,000 in reserve.
$10,000 or something in reserve. Now the Federal Reserve just said, no, there's no reserve, just lend away.
There's no reserve.
No more reserve requirement. Just make more money at will, lend it out as you see fit. It'll all be fine. There won't be any inflation. It'll be transitory.
Bank runs, forget it.
603-283-6160. Coming up, we're going to talk about the separation of money and state.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
When a lunar observatory detects a radio broadcast originating from Proxima Centauri, the nations of Earth discover their first contact with an alien race may also be their last. With the Proximans facing an extinction-level disaster, Earth must choose between sending a ship on a multi-year journey or allowing nature to take its course. Saving Proxima, a hard science fiction thriller by Travis S. Taylor and Les Johnson from BaneBooks.com.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in Liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com. Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it! You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
What is that? Don't stop bereaving?
Don't stop believing.
Bereaving.
Or you can sing
Hold on to that funeral feeling? Streetlights, people,
something like that.
Isn't that what's that? It's Uriney, right? It's a soft J,
right?
Uriney,
like the Wall Street urinal.
That's right. Yes, absolutely.
Or the Atlanta urinal.
This is Free Talk Live.
Talking about what we were talking about during the break?
Oh, we were too, weren't we? Sorry, listeners. That's some inside stuff. We should probably make sure that we don't talk about break stuff during not break time. But sometimes it's fun.
It's funny.
If you're wondering what you're listening to, this is Free Talk Live. We're a live radio call-in talk program where you talk about whatever's on your mind or whatever we're talking about, or change the subject or keep it on, whatever you want to do. It's Free Talk Live.
It's a caller-driven show. No, it's not.
The telephone number
it could be if you call in. It could
be if you call in. Change the subject, please.
The telephone number, if we decide to give it to you, for you to call into, is 603-283-6160. Again, 603-283-6160. Forkfest 2022 coming up. I know it's mid-February, but like Porkfest, the Porcupine Freedom Festival, happens the week before this, and it's sold out. So at least as far as the campsite on it, you can still get a ticket and come in the day, get some lodging outside of Rogers Campground if you want to come. That's still available.
Or don't
to you.
Sleep.
Or don't sleep. Yeah, you could be done too. Freedom-minded people will stay up for days sometimes. But you can join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 27th through July 3rd for the 6th annual Forkfest at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. Forkfest is a fork of the Porcupine Freedom Festival, which sold out for the first time in 2021 and looks to also sell out this year. Forkfest takes place the week after, but it's decentralized, which means there's no ticket cost and no one is in charge. All you have to do to join the fun is reserve your camping site, your RV site, or your motel room with Rogers Campground for June 27th through July 3rd. There's no better place to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire. You can find out more at the unofficial website, forkfest.party. You can also connect with other attendees on the Forkfest Telegram and Matrix chat rooms, as well as the Forkfest Forum. You can find links to those at forkfest.party. We hope to see you there, forkfest.party. Are you guys going?
Heck yeah, I am.
It's a hard fork.
It's, yeah.
Off of the pork.
It is, yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I call it pork and fork now.
Oh,
Pork and fork.
Because it just sounds delicious.
Pork
and
and
if
pork.
if you don't sleep for 2 weeks, I mean, you start hallucinating.
No, hey,
I definitely sleep at Pork Fest and Fork Fest.
Look, as
I'm
a
not that kind of a party animal.
As a musician who used to play shows and all that kind of stuff for like 20 years on the West Coast, I've spent 2 weeks doing far, like probably worse things than being at Pork and Fork, which is a great time, by the way. Come party with the captain. Come party with us. You'll have fun. I do want to talk about the separation of money and state. However, Nikki, I've been sitting on this article for you specifically for weeks now, and just because you're here, I want to bring it up. It's from Reason.com. The headline is "Leave Goat Yoga Alone."
Wow.
With an exclamation mark. We can't even do the things we want on our own property that aren't even hurting anyone, is the subheading. Zoning aims to cram all human activity into neat little boxes: residential, commercial, agricultural. The system does not easily accommodate new, line-blurring ideas and practices, as Jordan Stevens learned when planning officials told her she was not allowed to host goat yoga classes on her farm in rural Hamilton County, Indiana.
You know what would fix this? Abolishing the government.
Oh, definitely. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Since 2018, Stevens and her partner had been running goat yoga classes, where people strike traditional yoga poses while goats clamber on and around them out of a local counseling center. When the pandemic shut down the counseling center, Stevens shifted the operation to her farm, Happy Goat Lucky Acres.
Whoa.
Happy Goat Lucky Acres.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's cute.
It must have taken a long time to come up with that one.
The move allowed her to hold classes in a safer outdoor environment while eliminating the need to hug her Nigerian dwarf goats back and forth. Lug, not hug, sorry. It was the only full-time goat yoga business in the state, and it was a good arrangement for Stevens' goats as well as her customers. They thrive on human interaction, she says. On the farm, we have a separate pen that we do the classes in, and they run straight into that. So apparently goats dig human interaction.
Oh, they do. I used to work on a farm.
Yeah.
It was a petting zoo,
Mhm.
and they love little kids. Like, they were so happy. They love to be played with. Like, they're just like little people, except they're furry and they aren't people at all.
And you do some yoga instruction. You have classes that you give and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Would you consider doing goat yoga with other yoga practitioners?
Yeah. Oh, I think that'd be awesome.
Okay.
Just
You
don't
think
tell
it's-
the city.
I love. Yeah.
Like,
well,
I don't
I
have
don't
any,
tell them anything anyways.
I don't have any yoga experience, so like I don't know what happens in how yoga goes. But like, my first question would be: is it safe to like do yoga with a bunch of goats in the room? Or
Yeah, if they're
in the pen or
little
whatever?
goats, I mean, because the thing is, goats love to climb all over stuff, so they love. Where I used to work, they had like little like jungle gyms, like play areas for little kids, but goats would play on them. So they love to climb on stuff, and so.
Well, the article continues. This is a win-win for humans and goats, but it didn't sit well with Hamilton County officials.
Officials?
Yeah, the local planning department wasn't kidding around in July 2021 when it sent Stevens an email, a very sternly worded letter, right? An email informing her that her goat yoga was not allowed on her own agricultural land. While her property zoning allowed her to raise goats and sell goat products, goat yoga was out of the question. If Stevens wanted to operate her business legally, she would have to apply for a zoning variance.
Wow, call the SWAT team,
my
huh?
God.
Jeez.
The news was a blow for Stevens. Running her business from her farm was more cost-effective and convenient, especially because she has multiple sclerosis, which makes it difficult to work outside of her home. But with few other options, Stevens tried to jump through the county's hoops. It cost about $1,000 in fees, plus some $4,000 in revenue lost because she had to pause her business for 2 months while trying to figure this out and figure out how to jump through the hoops, raise the money, et cetera, and so on.
Do not comply.
It was all for naught. In September, the county's Board of Zoning Appeals rejected Stevens' application for a variance.
I just don't understand the harm in what she's doing.
Why do officials even care?
Why do they care?
Why are they called officials?
Yeah. Unofficials.
Unofficials?
Yeah.
Official what?
Why do governors have mansions?
Why do birds?
Why do they exist?
Yeah. Even better question. Fortunately, Stevens was able to finish out the rest of her season, which runs from May through October, at the fairgrounds in neighboring Tipton County. But the added expense and hassle of moving the classes off the farm left her wondering whether she will continue offering goat yoga classes at all. It sucks, Stevens says. They take so much money from people who are already taxpayers, and then we can't even do the things we want to on our own property.
It's a free country, right?
Not anymore.
Especially when they're not even hurting anyone. 603-283-6160. More Free Talk Live is on the way.
If you want to bring more liberty into your community, there's something you should see. Intercoin, the movement you might want to join. If you like Bitcoin, break through. It's true. It's truly something new. If you'd like to see real prosperity, start your own currency, boost the economy. Intercoin, the movement you might want to join. If you like Bitcoin, its impact's hard to overstate, results you can appreciate. If you're tired of relying on the state, want to make your own community great, homelessness and hunger to eliminate, let the wealth accumulate. Don't wait for the growth rate to accelerate. Go to intercoin.org and get the coins for yourself.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Jagruti Dave. US Secretary of State Anthony Blinken has said the extension of Belarus and Russia's military drills makes him more concerned about the possibility of a Russian invasion. The exercises were expected to come to an end on Sunday. Russia has repeatedly denied it plans to invade Ukraine, but the US and its allies have accused Russia of trying to create a pretext for war. And according to US media reports, President Biden's claim last week that Vladimir Putin has made the decision to attack Ukraine was based on US intelligence indicating Russian troops had been given orders to proceed with an invasion. Mr. Biden cancelled a trip to Delaware to remain at the White House following a rare weekend meeting of the National Security Council. But officials in Washington maintain there is still a diplomatic path forward. US Secretary of State Anthony Blinken told CNN State of the Union he's expecting to meet his Russian counterpart in Europe on Thursday.
It all depends on what Russia does in the coming days. If it doesn't invade, I'll be there. I hope he'll be there too.
Mr. Blinken and Vice President Kamala Harris also defended the US's decision not to slap Russia with preemptive sanctions. French President Emmanuel Macron has discussed a possible ceasefire in eastern Ukraine in a phone call with Vladimir Putin. Our Moscow correspondent Julia Chapman has more on the conversation between the two leaders.
The French and Russian presidents expressed concern about the ongoing tensions, the violence in eastern Ukraine, according to the Kremlin readout. President Vladimir Putin pointed the finger firmly at the Ukrainian authorities, not taking any responsibility for the events of recent days. But the two of them did agree to continue engagement, search for a diplomatic solution. But the Kremlin also pointed out that the US and NATO, from Moscow's perspective, are continuing to ignore Russia's red lines and its security guarantees.
Britain's Queen Elizabeth has tested positive for COVID-19. In a statement, Buckingham Palace said she's experiencing mild symptoms. The 95-year-old monarch's son, Prince Charles, tested positive for the virus last week, and it's believed there are several staff at Windsor Castle who have also contracted COVID-19. Royal commentator Peter Hunt has more on the details released by the palace.
They're saying that she's got mild cold-like symptoms. They're saying she'll do light duties at Windsor and she'll follow guidance, and obviously she'll follow all appropriate guidelines. At the moment, the rule is isolation, so she'll follow that until and if it changes. And of course, she is at higher risk from her age, but she is obviously benefiting from the fact that it's understood that she has been triple jabbed.
People in England who test positive for the virus have to self-isolate for at least 5 days, but the UK government is preparing to scrap that requirement. Prime Minister Boris Johnson said he was sure he spoke for everyone in wishing Her Majesty the Queen a swift recovery from COVID and a rapid return to vibrant good health. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
Yes, it is Free Talk Live. The telephone number 603-283-6160. Again, 603-283-6160. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the captain.
Steve Classic.
And Nikki.
So, before I talk about the separation of money and state, I want to say thank you to the Freeman, who is a silver AMPS contributor over at amps.freetalklive.com. It's part of our Patreon campaign. AMPS stands for Advertise, Marketing, Promote, and Support. And what it does is it helps us get this radio show onto more radio stations nationwide. We're on about 190 radio stations. We could be on 200. We could be on 300. It's all up to you. Please visit amps.freetalklive.com and consider contributing to help us get the message of freedom, the perspectives of freedom-loving people. If you like this show, if you like the hosts, if you like the content, please consider contributing over at amps.freetalklive.com. Thank you again, The Freeman. We appreciate your contribution. All right, we've got some calls on hold. Yeah, calls on hold. And we're going to get to those in just a minute. But from BitcoinMagazine.com, Bitcoin, the inevitable path toward global adoption of the next world reserve currency. A changing of the guard is standard for fiat currencies, but Bitcoin is set to supplant them all. If the last 700 years are any indication, reserve currencies have a shelf life of roughly 100 years. The U.S. dollar, also known as USD, officially became the world's reserve currency 77 years ago in the Bretton Woods events 1944.
Right here in the Shire.
Arguably, USD was the reserve as far back as the late 1920s. From a historical timeline perspective, the USD is in the twilight of its reserve status. Couple that with the fact that the United States is also expanding the money supply exponentially, devaluing the purchasing power of the existing supply of the USD in the process. And to put it politely, the growth rate is unsustainable, mathematically impossible.
Impossible.
Yeah. For the record, the U.S. Federal Reserve is not operating in isolation. Most major central banks across the globe are following this trend. Examples include the European Central Bank, the Bank of Japan, and the People's Bank of China, to name a few. Frankly, the majority of major central banks are racing one another to see who can debase their currencies the quickest. Stanley Druckenmiller, who is considered a legendary investor in part due to his study of history and macroeconomics, thinks the USD will lose reserve currency status within 15 years. So if the USD has a shelf life, I'm sorry.
I was saying that's kind of generous.
I've been hearing about the collapse of the dollar and how it's mathematically not possible, which is true. For quite some time, the Federal Reserve is very tricky in its methods of kicking the can down the road and inflating the supply. And we are now seeing historical inflation on prices. I don't know if you've noticed what you bought at the store is expensive, way more expensive than pre-COVID. That's because somewhere between 50 and as much as 80% of the money supply was created in the last 5 years.
Well, yeah, where do we think all those free COVID payments came from?
Right.
Free money, woohoo!
Well, they got to get it back by taxing it. Or you're taxing it with inflation.
And we can talk more about this, but we have calls to get to. So let's go to Deanne calling from Ackworth. Deanne, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hi.
Hi, what's on your mind?
Well, I was hoping to bring this subject up, but now it fits perfectly in with what you were talking about with this lady in Indiana wanting to do the goat stuff.
Okay.
It's something that I'm only newly learning about, but I'm wondering if you guys have heard about something called private member associations.
Well, it's not like a new concept. Private member associations have been around for some time. But go ahead.
Right. Well, I don't know that much about it yet. I'm researching it and looking into it. But from what I understand, it frees you up as far as a lot of things. And she could tell these people that this is a private property, and she only serves her members, and it's none of their business, and get off her property.
You may well have a solution for her there in that respect. There were, when the smoking bans started coming around, and everybody was, all the states individually were like, oh, we're going to ban smoking. Some places got around that by doing exactly what you're talking about. They're like, okay, well, I'm a private club now, and if you're a member, you can bring in a guest or guests as long as you sign our little, whatever. They made some, way for them to bring guests. And so they became a private member association, and then whoever they let in could both smoke and drink at the same time.
I wonder if that would work in regards to the woman's issue with the goat yoga, because it was a zoning issue. So normally it's like, okay, this can be agricultural land, residential land, or whatever. Commercial land. So I wonder if that would be a way for her, because since it was a zoning issue.
Well, one way around, if you have house concerts, the band doesn't, you can't sell tickets to the band. The band gets a donation. So that's one way around having concerts in a house or a private club.
Oh, so if she accepted donations instead of charging for...
Right.
Yeah, the suggested donation is
$20
$20.
per
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
what do you think,
it's a donation.
Well, the one thing, the man that I heard interviewed about it, he started a grocery store. This is in California, so, probably high government intrusions into stuff. But he said that he can tell people that come around to, check his refrigeration to make sure that it's up to par. He can tell them, get out. This is not your business. It's private. And apparently it's working. They've been doing it for a while. And I think he said they own 10 businesses. So they're really implementing it, and he's hoping to get huge numbers of these set up, and he has a website that people can go on, which is what I was on tonight, and he is trying to help people do it and get it set up.
Do you want to tell us what the website is? It's fine.
Sure. It's the PMA team.club.
T as in Texas, TMA?
P as in
P is private, right?
Member. Yeah. The PMA team.club.
Okay. I'm a fan of this kind of a thing, particularly if it circumvents, the statist paradigm.
Well, I don't exactly want to say on the radio what all he said it circumvents, but It sounds really good to me.
Yeah. I agree with you, and I wish that these techniques would be deployed more. Although it is sad that people can't just do whatever they want on their own property without having to, create some sort of pathway through the maze of BS that's thwarted upon us by the state.
I kind of like that stuff. You start using code language, and it's a private club, and you got to pick up the phone and say, I need to have my shoes fixed, and they let you in, and stuff like that. It's kind of cool, and it just basically throws the goons right off. It's like I know in California they couldn't sell raw milk, so they had to sell it as pet food, and they could sell it as pet. So you just go to get your pet food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else, Deanne?
Well, I will just mention the one thing that I'm wondering if it will circumvent, which I'm going to find out. I just sent an email to this guy tonight. So we have had bullying neighbors for years, 15 years, and they just made a false fraudulent accusation to the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services saying that I had violated something or other, which is completely fraudulent. He said I put culverts in the brook and built a road, neither of which I've done. So I'm being investigated or whatever, but I'm wondering if I'll be able to keep them off my property too.
Well, good luck with that, and give us a call back. Let us know how that turns out. And thanks for the call, Deanne. We appreciate you. 603-283-6160. More Free Talk Live is coming up. We'll talk more about the separation of money and state and your calls.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with agristhosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agristhosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agristhosting.com.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Should you be able to earn an honest living free from senseless government interference? The Institute for Justice thinks so. That's why we've spent years defending hard-working men and women from pointless government regulations. Nationwide, IJ has created opportunity by reducing government power, but there is still more work to be done. Visit our website today at ij.org. Let IJ take care of the government so you can take care of your business.
You can help spread the ideas of liberty with our Patreon for just $5 per month at amps.freetalklive.com.
Yeah, come on and listen to Free Talk Live. It's the final segment. We've got some calls to get to. I am your host, the Reverend Captain Kickass. Joining me,
Steve Classic.
And Nikki.
And without further ado, let's go to Major Payne, calling from Michigan. Major, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, guys. Yeah, between you guys jawboning and your collars, you keep adding more things to my hit list. I heard a ditty about a restaurateur in New York back during the middle of the pandemic. And how he got through this whole thing and didn't get shut down was he had a sign-in list at the door, and you'd throw in $1 for your joining fee, and yeah, it was a club. And you come in and get your cheeseburger for $4.50, and I don't know if he knocked $1 off the plate or whatever, but it was working for him.
Yeah, I had a similar thing. Some friends they put up this, I'm going to call it a makeshift bar, and the deal was that you had to bring a donation to the bar. 6-pack, 12-pack, bottle of booze, whatever. You had to be over 21, and when you showed up, you had to sign this little book. And your donation was, your membership fee, and your signature in the little book for that day was you acknowledging you're a member. There were some rules listed there, and it says, by signing the book, you acknowledge these rules for the club, et cetera, and so on. And they were able to do that, and then they would also take donations because they made it well known that the reason they were throwing these parties and having people over and, having this donation-based bar was because they were trying to purchase a bar themselves and own it as their business. And they accomplished it by doing this very thing, and it was pretty unique.
That's cool.
Sorry, continue, Major.
All right, another little quick news ditty I heard this morning, things they're going to try to bury. In Homestead, I don't know if it's Homestead City or Homestead County, Florida, today, a prisoner was killed during transport from one facility to another, and 10 cops were either fired or suspended, and 3 cops resigned. So there's some dirty doings down in Alligator Alley there.
Okay,
Florida man.
No, I'm from the Mitten.
No, not you. The
Wrong
other person.
peninsula. Wrong peninsula.
All right, go on.
Anyway, you guys, you remember when River Dave called in and told us that fable the other couple weeks ago, Captain?
Yes.
You need to, this guy is a wealth of knowledge. You guys should really see if you can't make him a guest of honor at the Quill Pig Fest here, the Porcupine Fest. You know what I mean?
We'll see what we can do. He is a legend, but he's also a very reclusive person, so.
Well, that was my other statement, was he might not want to, so just go up and at least do an interview with him. Glean something. You can't, there's too much gold in that well to just let it go.
Yeah, I hear you. Anything else tonight, Major?
Yeah, well, I called in last night, and you guys, Aaron fat-fingered me, and Sarah got on, and I never got to finish my carbon curing story about making your liquor drinkable.
Oh, yeah, we were talking about putting the barrel inside the bottle.
Yeah, you put the barrel back in the bottle. But it's pretty simple. All you really need is a good quality wood. Oak works real well. But after you smother, you fire burning and you smother your coals and you got a nugget.
Yep.
Well, if it's nice and hard, it'll work. If it's soft, you get too much flake and shale and it's an unpleasant drink. You got to filter it and yada, yada, yada. But this stuff works so good, I can drop a nugget in a shot glass of green liquor, and in less than 5 minutes, I can taste the difference.
So it's
I'll get a full cure in 3 days.
So it's bad if it's soft, good if it's hard, and that's the qualities of wood that you seek. Thanks for the call, Major. We appreciate you.
It ties back into the vegetables.
It comes back to the vegetables.
It comes back to the vegetables.
We had David in New Mexico trying to call, but he's gone now for some reason. David, if you're listening, give us a call. Otherwise, we could talk more about this separation of money and state. Concerning Bitcoin, retail institutions, governments, pension funds, REITs, whatever that is. REITs. And, thank you.
Real estate investment trusts.
And banks are all accumulating Bitcoin. The diversity accumulation produces game theory adoption accumulation, which is occurring far quicker than most would have predicted. And this is why we see the rise in the cost of cryptocurrency and the boom, if you will, of all of the industries surrounding that. And so, of course, that makes this, the separation of money and state is literally what Bitcoin achieves. Literally, cryptocurrencies in general. So, David in New Mexico, are you there?
I am.
All right.
Well, thanks to you.
I did nothing. Your call disappeared from my phone, so you either got bad signal or you hit a button with your cheek or something. But you're on live right now. What's on your mind?
Billy the Kid. Meh.
Is that a goat joke?
I don't know. Meh. But the Billy the Kid. So we were talking about Billy the Kid like years ago, and you got a connection to Billy the Kid, and we need to discuss your connection to Billy the Kid, because we got some problems there.
Okay, so I met a guy named Dan Garrett, who claimed he was Pat Garrett's great, I don't know how many times great grandson. And Pat Garrett is supposedly Billy the Kid's, arch enemy, because they were friends. And then, of course, he was contracted to go find and history claims shot Billy the Kid. So this guy, Dan Garrett, claiming to be a great, descendant of Pat Garrett, would go around putting on Old West shows. And he could do things with a leather bullwhip, like take a cigarette out of your mouth without touching your face.
Wow.
Standing at quite a distance away from you. And I also got to shoot his .44 Magnum. That's the first time I ever shot a .44. It about took my arm off. So anyway, this guy also claimed he was former 70s pop artist Leif Garrett's dad, and had lost at least one ranch as a result of his son's drug abuse. So go ahead, David.
This guy's name was Garrett. Sounds like somebody in New Mexico been lying to you, but that don't make sense, because nobody in New Mexico ever lies. But Leif Garrett was born Leif Per Nervik, the son of Rick Nervik, which I believe is probably a Swedish dude. So,
okay.
So there's some sort of controversy here about, I think Mr. Garrett, the Wild West actor, filled you with the line of something we can't say on the radio.
Hey, it is New Mexico, man, and it's the land of entrapment, so be careful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
anyway,
he had no documentation supporting his claim of being a parent to Leif Garrett. He did have documentation supporting his claim to be related to the great descendant of Pat Garrett. Now, I realize that this kind of stuff can be fabricated, and this was all pre-internet times as well. So it could just very well have been part of his Old West persona that he was putting on to sell tickets to his show and make his living.
That is most likely the case, especially since he's a New Mexican and he's a liar.
Well, I don't know if he was New Mexican specifically.
See, he's lying about that too, see?
Well, he never claimed to be New Mexican to my recollection, so.
Oh, okay. The plot thickens.
Yes. Anything else today, David?
No, I just wanted to straighten that out, because there was a glaring error in the story, because Leif Garrett was not born Leif Garrett, and so I needed to straighten that out.
Okay, so how did he get the name Garrett then?
Well, he was born in Hollywood, for one thing, so that probably had something to do with it. Probably had some agent that said, hey, Leif Per Nervik.
So you don't know, and because you don't know, you could be lying right now.
I'm always lying, dude. You just don't know whether I'm lying right now or not. So that's the problem.
That is the problem. Hey, thanks for the call, David. We appreciate you.
Plot twist.
Plot twist. David in New Mexico.
It's like Arnold Tom. Hey, you got to change your name to Tom Arnold. That works.
I mean, it's not uncommon for Hollywood types to change their name from something to something to make it easier, or
Karen Johnson,
less
Norma Jean,
less difficult to pronounce if you got some weird unpronounceable name. It's not uncommon for those things to happen.
But Karen Johnson changed her name to a crazy name, Whoopi Goldberg.
Whoopi's Karen Johnson?
Karen Johnson.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did not know this.
That's such a flat name, Karen Johnson.
Yeah.
Anyway. She should go back to. She should change her name back to that.
I mean,
she's a Karen for sure.
I could see people. If your name's like Bob Smith, right? Bob, very common name. Smith, very common name. Do you really want to be one of the most common names on planet Earth?
I used to work with a guy. His name was Mike Smith, and he would run into people. Oh, and he had business cards. So many Mike Smiths. It was incredible.
You're Mike Smith.
Yeah.
I'm Mike Smith.
Yeah, here's my card. He had a stack of cards of all these Mike Smiths at all different places all over the country.
A good friend of mine passed away recently. His name was Dan Kirk, and I keep running into people or seeing the name Dan Kirk because it's common.
Yeah. Dunkirk.
Anyway, we're out of time for this week's edition of the Sunday version of Free Talk Live. If you missed any of the show, find us at freetalklive.com. Thanks for tuning in and listening, everybody. Peace.
Thanks, Captain.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and